The story begins with a boy waking up at night as his father repeatedly calls his name Woojoo. He sits up to see his dad standing at the door in a bright light, to which his father apologizes and tells him that he worked himself to death, which confuses Kim. He shockedly asks why he died suddenly like this and what about him, to which his father hands him a golden key while saying it's not much of a farewell gift, but asks if he could settle with this. Afterwards, Kim narrates that day in a dream, what his dad left behind was this mysterious key. Suddenly, someone pokes his cheek while calling him a little one, and says that there's nothing to worry about. He adds that as the protagonists of the web novel his dad left behind, their Demon King's army will be his friend, to which Kim curiously asks what the Demon King army is. After that, 10 years later somewhere in a building, an all-grown-up Kim calls something annoying, and asks what the hell is this. Kim angrily tears the poster while wondering, why stick this in the digital age? They are openly mocking him. He says that he is about to get kicked out because he can't pay the rent, and he calls himself unlucky. Inside his apartment, Kim is watching the television while having a meal as the channel is about to show a short commercial. A lady says that the product they are introducing this time is really amazing, which gets Kim's attention. They say something about the original version of the national game, which is a web novel, to which Kim comments that they are advertising the game again. Therefore, he turns off the television as he's sick of it. He then remembers that there's one more legacy his dad left behind, and that is hyper-virtual reality, which is implemented using a hyper-virtual reality device. So on. His dad's web novel The Another World was made into a game, and became a huge hit. However, Kim wonders what that has to do with him, or if it affects the author's child eating instant noodles for every meal. He then turns on the television, and a lady asks if the original book is hot now, because she heard the price of the key, which was a book supplement, is skyrocketing. In reply, another lady says it has a secret diary-like lock attached to it, to which the first lady calls it so cute, and it's too good to lose it. They say that they are selling limited edition books without the key at a special price, and since there's no overstock, they should hurry up and place their order, to which Kim feels amazed, and asks what kind of book is the price of a modern computer. Suddenly, he realizes something and remembers about the limited edition key, as he got one too from his father. Kim then goes to a messed up room, and wonders if they haven't got a few limited edition book at home. He says that this study room is filled with his dad's web novels, as he starts checking the bookshelf to look for the limited edition books. He notices a black hardcovered book, and says it looks just like the one he saw on Home Shopping. However, he thinks it's a different work, and reads the book's title Surviving as the Strongest in the World of the Strongest. Moreover, he sees that it has a lock on it too. He then says now that he sees it, he remembers this title, because when he was young, he used to shorten it to Giving One's Best Living One's Best, and it was a Munchkin story with crazy power inflation, where even the kids in the neighborhood could beat up dragons. It was a world where Munchkins were commonplace. However, he holds the key and wonders if he will be able to make some money or not. Kim then tries to open the book, wanting to turn his life around, or at least pay the overdue rent. He turns the key inside the lock, hoping for it to open, and to his surprise, a golden light shines from the book and gets opened. However, the light shines brighter that blinds and startles him. He yells his eyes, and asks why there is a flash impact like a movie opening. He tosses and turns around while asking if the creator is insane. After that, the light slowly fades away, while Kim looks at the book and says he is really speechless. However, he sees that there's nothing inside the cage, and doesn't see the key either. He thinks it was definitely heavy before he opened it, and a special gift has arrived on the HVR, as it says a gift has arrived for Woojoo. The system says to press the accept button if he wants to open it. Kim notices the HVR telling him to open the gift, and suddenly, the HVR start changing the slides, which catches Kim's attention. The system says a daily quest has arrived for Woojoo, to which Kim curiously gets up to check it. He confusedly asks if there are daily quests appearing now, and thinks that the key might have got kicked away when he got blinded by that flash earlier, so he decides to find it later. Kim then puts on the HVR, and says he has to complete the daily quests to at least get a meal, because if he skips it, even cup noodles will be out of reach. He thinks he is living a tedious low-level life, and even if he gets little money, he can't quit. After that, the system is connecting him to another world and tells him to maintain a comfortable posture. Kim comments that the key was really amazing, so after finishing the daily quest, he wants to check the market price at Danks. Suddenly, the gift pops up, and he remembers about it. Kim wonders why it keeps on popping up, or if it's a new type of spam. Kim then checks the gift panel and thinks it's very suspicious, so he wonders if he should accept it. However, as he feels like the notifications are annoying, he just accepts it. After that, something shines in front of him, and then a lady gets spawned, and confusedly asks where she is. Kim astonishedly wonders what is this, as he sees her black horns with a red hue, her long white hair, the distinctive shoulder symbol, and even golden eyes. Kim then calls her Lucia, to which she gaspingly asks how he knows her name, as she is the Great Demon King. Therefore, Kim can't believe this. He wonders if she's really the final boss of surviving as the strongest in the world of the strongest, the Great Demon King who made the hero struggle till the end. He thinks it can't be, as it's a completely different work to begin with. Yet, he sees that the synchronization is pretty high, and wonders if each detail was customized. Lucia then asks who he is, and where this is, as she was just about to be executed by the heroes. Kim realizes that even the speech style is perfectly spot on. But he almost threw up earlier and survived because of the Iron Mask skin. In reply, Kim says he has daily quests to do now, to which Lucia shockingly says no way. She asks him if he's a god, and if she was about to get killed by the heroes or not. Kim says that as he's the author's child, he replies that he is a god, and he has to clear this quest. Also, this is a wyvern nest, so staying here too long is dangerous. Lucia gets shocked hearing that, and loudly says if he is truly a god, then tell her the first words she uttered when she was born 30,000 years ago as an ancient being. She asks him what those were, because if he can't answer, he will be severely punished for pretending to be a god. Kim narrates that it's the line Lucia says every time she introduces herself in the original work. Kim replies, "She said my magic eyes see everything." And in response, Lucia depressedly says she guesses that she is really dead. Kim thinks it's true that some people are stuck in this game out of slavery for their livelihoods, and wonders if it's great to play around with concepts or not. Suddenly, a wyvern comes near them while Kim is thinking. He gets startled after seeing the wyvern, as his real self is panicking since the wyvern is there. Kim then realizes that he has an Iron Mask skin, which helps him to maintain a poker face in any situation. He thinks if he dies, he will lose 30% of his experience and gold, and won't be able to pay the rent or the utility bills. He wishes for someone to save him, while the wyvern screeches at him. To this, Lucia asks where this mere lizard thinks it's going, and tells the wyvern to back off if he doesn't want to get wiped out. Kim realizes that Lucia is sticking with the concept even in a situation like this. After that, Kim says the one who can bring about the end alone, the Great Demon King Lucia. He tells her that he can't deceive someone with magic eyes like her, and she surely said he is God. Therefore, he says that a god cannot use their power in this world, and asks if she could handle those creatures for him. Kim thinks this is cringy, but in order to survive, he has to match the concept. Lucia replies that she can't do that, to which the real Kim tells her to shut up and get lost. Lucia then says it's unfortunate that she can't use divine power, as she has a similar reason too. She says the heroes sealed her power with cunning tricks, and that's the only way they could deal with someone invincible like her. She says if it weren't for that, there wouldn't be even a trace of the wyvern. Therefore, Kim starts running and thinks that he doesn't care. He just needs to run. He hopes for the wyverns to target Lucia, as that's his only survival plan. However, the wyverns runs after Kim, and he wonders if that's only because of his bad luck. After that, Lucia says that foolishly, the heroes made a mistake, and there's a reason she became the king of the demon realm. She says that even without using her own power, she can bestow it on someone. She says that's how she created the Hell Legion, with this power enhancement. Therefore, if Kim can't use divine power in this world, she asks how about borrowing the power of the Demon King. The divine power then gets transferred to Kim, which shocks him. While running, he asks what this is, as his body feels very light. After that, Kim vanishes in thin air and goes up into the sky. Lucia then wonders if he went there, as her magic eyes sees everything. Moreover, she asks why he is in a place where it's hard to breathe, unless he belongs there in the divine realm. On the other hand, Kim is on top of an asteroid and questions himself what this is. He confusedly asks why suddenly an outer space experience and where the wyvern is. Suddenly, he gasps and can't breathe, while in the real world, Kim is feeling cold and twitching, wondering if it's broken. Kim then coughingly trips on the asteroid and falls down. After that, he lands back on Earth, to which Lucia happily says he's back again, and Kim wonders what this distance of 1 step is. Lucia then asks how it feels to receive power bestowal, and Kim unknowingly asks back about it. The wyvern then screeches at him, as the real Kim panickingly says he is now right in front of the wyvern. Therefore, Kim attempts to run while the wyvern tries to bite him. Just then, the wyvern gets confused as Kim lands back from space and again runs because of the danger. But since he can't control his new power, he repeatedly switches between space and land, which leaves the wyvern speechless. Suddenly, the wyvern angrily screeches at him and Kim thinks it's frustrating. The wyvern then dashes at Kim from all directions, while he thinks that with 1 step, he will be dead. He then remembers Lucia mentioning power bestowal earlier, and realizes that's the unique ability of the Great Demon King in the novel. Therefore, he confusedly thinks that the strongest form of Lucia from another original work appeared in this game, and if so, then he thinks that he has completely entered a wrong genre. Because the original, surviving as the strongest in the world of strongest, is the spiciest of his dad's overpowered novels, where even a neighborhood kid can catch a dragon in that world. Back in time, his father said that episode 1 shouldn't have started with a village kid beating up the dragon, while Kim thinks that he used to worry about power inflation. And if the strongest of the strongest Lucia is in it, the power difference with this game is just too big, because he is going 1 step to space and 1 step back on Earth. He thinks the balance is ridiculously broken, so no one would believe it. But instead, believing this fact makes more sense to him. Meanwhile, the wyverns are very close to him, and Kim calls Lucia. He says it's hard to control the power she gave him, and asks how he is supposed to use it correctly. To which Lucia shockingly asks if he really need to ask that as a god, and then she tells him to punch towards the sky, so that the earth doesn't split apart. In reply, Kim says right, as there was such a universal rule in his dad's novel. To make the earth not split, he punches at the sky. A loud noise then echoes around, and a bright pink light can be seen from space. Lucia says that it didn't reach beyond the solar system. Hence, the power is about that of a mid-boss in a regional dungeon, while Kim checks his screen and thinks it would be like this in her world. He then realizes that the entire wyvern habitat got swept away, and wonders if the eggs are still there. He checks the quest, which is telling him to collect 5 wyvern eggs in 7 minutes. Kim comments, it looks like the eggs are somewhere, and tells Lucia that he will be off. He thinks that it was close and steps forward. However, the ground cracks from it. Kim then asks Lucia if she can release this now, as the situation is over. But Lucia laughingly asks if he really thinks that this body's bestial magic is a joke. She announces that the special ability of the Great Demon King is a permanent bestowal. Kim thinks that he didn't know that, and wonders if this is because of the key. He tells her to please release it, as he can't take another step. But Lucia asks if he didn't hear her, and tells him that he lacks training, while Kim angrily tells her to release it, and calls her a bastard. Kim narrates that that day, the Wyvern Gorge turned into ruins. But after a week, the greatness of nature breathes life back into the barren land. He looks at other players, as one of the boys asks where the wyverns are, to which another says that daily quest is a piece of cake. And a girl says the sneakers she had her eyes on are finally hers today, which makes Kim jealous. But either way, he received an absurd power. However, it's been a week and he still can't take a single step from there, because just 1 step is enough to send him to space. But he doesn't want to give up, as he has a huge debt, and he lives a shitty same old boring broke life. He wonders if he isn't the Kim Woojoo who doesn't give in to the specks of despair, and thinks that he needs to think more smartly, as this is because of full acceleration firmly pushing the ground. He narrates that being calmly and composed, leaning back as much as possible, he can step forward. He believes that the strategy is to touch the ground, and then shift his weight, as he names it airwalk. He thinks it's easier than he thought, but a lighting gets launched at the sky. The lighting goes far into space, and Kim wonders if it works like this. He thinks if he get bounced back into space with just a small touch, he just needs to make zero contact area, and by smoothly dragging his feet backward, it becomes what's called a moonwalk. However, with this kind of step, the ground still cracks, to which he frustratedly asks what's with this tofu-like ground, as it's splitting everywhere. Kim then laughingly calls this ridiculous, and says that maybe he should grow wings instead. Suddenly, he realizes something, and wonders if he can fly like this. Yet, no matter what, he thinks the situation is absurd, and takes a deep breath. After that, a lighting goes into space again, to which he panickingly says he just took a breath. Suddenly, Lucia laughingly asks what he is doing, and comments that it's funny to watch alone. Airwalk or moonwalk, there has never been someone as funny as him in the demon realm. In response, Kim angrily stares at her and thinks that this is all her fault. He knows that she is the strongest villain in power novels of all time, the one that caused his father to develop PTSD. Back in time, his dad asked what should he do, as he couldn't remember a way to defeat Lucia, while Kim narrates that his dad is now scared of power fantasy novels. At present, Lucia laughingly says that if he has something interesting, he can show him more, while Kim feels like that after thinking carefully, he brought this upon himself. As the reason the situation is like this, it might be because of him. After that, he remembers about the limited edition key, and also that he surely went to his dad's study room after seeing a home shopping ad. However, it was a different book, and he was the one who took out the limited edition book and immediately opened the case to receive the gift. The Demon King appeared, and he wonders if the Lucia appeared in this game because of him. Kim seriously thinks he has to find a way to lift this curse. He then asks Lucia what if the power she gave him fades, to which she tells him to not worry, as it's a permanent endowment that lasts forever. However, if she suddenly dies, it might be lifted, but as an immortal being she doubts that will happen. To this, Kim says there's no choice. He wonders if it can be solved by death. Kim then calls Lucia and asks her if she can't understand the situation, as now all she will have will be the regrets. He says he will soon crush that smug face of hers and tells her to stay there. In reply, Lucia says that's quite the spirit, while Kim vanishes and makes her confused. Back in his room, Kim thinks that he just needs to find a way to deal with this. He sees that the key is with him, which hangs around his neck as it previously was. Therefore, setting aside why this necklace came back, he got another chance to try again. Hence, Kim thinks that by finding another original work in his dad's study, he can finish off Lucia. He just has to summon a new strongest character to defeat her as he rushes to the study room. He inspects the bookshelves, wondering which genre and which hero it is who can defeat her. Kim thinks that he was always the first to review when a new book was released, as when he was young, his dad's web novels were like his fairy tales and textbooks. However, Kim is having trouble finding it, but he thinks he can find the one who will be Lucia's nemesis. The one who is the world's strongest, who can be controlled, and not a mad reckless maniac. Suddenly, Kim picks a black book and thinks this is the one. It's a dangerous genre, but he has no choice. He thinks it's a crisis where he can't afford to hesitate, because if he hesitates, he won't be able to even make a living. After that, he opens it and like before it's another empty case. The HVR then shows a new message and Kim wonders if it arrived, as the system says Woojoo has received a special gift. The system tells him to press the accept button to open it, and Kim thinks as it arrived, the alert went off. Kim then puts it on and says he is still not sure if it's the right choice, because this one is even more dangerous in terms of killing power. Moreover, he wants to see what kind of timing it has before receiving the gift. He explains it was in the second half of Volume 8, where Lucia was brought to the brink of execution. Thus, the limited edition case appears at a certain timing in this novel. He then pulls out a chibi figurine of Lucia, realizing this can be done. Kim wants to secure a place to check, because he can't move an inch, and then he finds a checkpoint of the sparsely populated bipedal snowfield, and clicks on it. After that, he renders himself into bipedal snowfield. Kim is barely walking in the snow, but still manages to check the message and accepts the gift. He then sees someone spawning, and thinks he did it after all. However, only in the game, he never thought he would actually encounter the killer named Zero, while the character is confusedly staring at Kim. Kim feels like the timing is easier to understand than Lucia's, and it can be confirmed by the killer ranking on the shoulder. He sees that Zero is still at 2 stars, so he must be from the time before escaping from the training camp. He narrates that Zero is the only killer from his dad's Munchkin web novel. He awakens to 5 stars after leaving the assassination organization, which is by going back and forth on the battlefield with just a wire and severing the necks of 30 billion people. The time it took to reach that number was barely 0.1 seconds. Moreover, the agility was official speed of light, multiplied by 10 trillion times. He thinks the method of contact is too risky for someone like him, but there's no way. Because, to defeat Lucia, there's no better bait than this. Even during the training days, Zero was a demon itself with no emotions other than murderous intent. This is what Kim is aiming for, and he opens the item box. He wants to use that to make him his, while Zero is still speechless. Kim is checking some clothes for Zero in item box, but suddenly, Zero binds a wire on Kim's neck. But Kim tells him to not worry, it's just a gift. And that is Ninja Husky design basic fit short sleeve t-shirt and black 2-button fleece skinny jeans. After that, Zero quickly jumps away from Kim and finds himself all dressed up. Kim knows that being naked is basic at the training camp, so Zero has probably never worn clothes before. Kim then calls him a poor thing and mentions he hopes that he feels warm now, as it must be his first time feeling this. In response, Zero stops shivering and curiously stares at Kim. Kim then tells him to come closer and thinks that as he tries to stay true to his mission in the story, he keeps slipping into a nerdy tone. Kim tells Zero that if he moves, it will be bad for him, so he needs to get closer to him, to which Zero quickly appears before him. Kim narrates that it all started when a female researcher called Laura freed Zero. From then on, he began to feel warmth for the first time. Even in moments when he was about to become a demon in fierce battles, Zero was a cyclical character who returns to his original self, because of the warmth Laura instilled in him. Kim then gives a bandana to Zero, believing he will be Laura for him from now on. In response, Zero comments "whoa," and Kim feels really sorry when he thinks about it again, because as a reward for suffering in the training camp, he was supposed to have a nice female protagonist and a bright roadmap waiting for him. But just when he decided to live, he got caught up in this devilish development, so Kim thinks he is Zero's #1 person to kill. However, since Zero has no concept of gender yet, he guesses Zero's feelings are kind of similar. Kim then says this scarf is a premium item, and it won't let him feel cold anymore. In reply, Zero shyly says yes, and Kim realizes he forgot to mention the title of this killer novel. He explains the novel has assassination as its theme. Along with that, his dad mixed in a genre that doesn't follow trends. Hence, the title is The Killer Still Loves Today, and it's actually a romance novel. Yet, Kim thinks he succeeded, but his conscience is bothering him a bit. He thinks it's like a baby duck recognizing the first thing it sees as its parent. But the imprinting effect will wear off soon, so it doesn't matter. Therefore, until then Zero has to be a loyal dog. But because of the key, he hasn't been able to complete the daily quest for a week. After that, Kim calls Zero as #0 and asks if he will come with him, to which Zero immediately agrees. Kim narrates that it went as planned, but there's one problem remaining, because the killer grade is still at level 2. To capture Lucia, he needs to be at least level 3, so he needs a trick to level up. After that, a horde of snow rabbits gather around them, to which Kim yells "snow rabbits," and shouts they are coming in a horde. He panickingly calls for emergencies as they are screwed, but the Iron Mask still maintains his poker face. Suddenly, Zero starts laughing at Kim, which confuses him. Kim gets serious and thinks he is feeling stronger now, but that laughing face reaction is very annoying to him. He then tells Zero to step back for a moment, because it wouldn't hurt to show off his strength at this opportunity. He tells Zero to watch closely the consequences of making him angry. However, he hopes that the earth doesn't split apart, and then punches in thin air with fist pointing at the sky. In response, all of the rabbits vanish. He wonders why they hide in the underground like that, or if his power gave them a hint. Kim angrily calls this absurd, and asks why they are suddenly crawling in the underground like that. He knows he can't attack towards the ground, and also don't know if Lucia's given power effects includes defense or not. He panickingly says he is really going to get caught. Meanwhile, Zero is still laughing at him. Suddenly, Zero realizes something. He holds his t-shirt as his stomach is growling. He then starts crying for some reason and holds his stomach. Kim narrates the real awakening has happened so suddenly, as it was in trillionth of 1 second. After that, Zero has turned into 5 stars, which is his true awakening. Kim then feels immense pressure around and wonders if he is going to die. Zero does a single cut that turns into 100 trillion cuts, which destroys the ground and the rabbits. On the other hand, Kim is standing on a thin ground in a bipedal snowfield. Kim says, so this is the effect of a 5-star ultimate skill, 100 trillion cuts. He wonders how Zero used it, because it can't be used if he's 2-star. Suddenly, he remembers something. That Killer Zero's ultimate skill consumes stars to activate. The stars then fade away, and Zero is back to 0-star, to which Kim tells him about his shoulder, and asks why he is smiling after using all the stars. Kim again explains that to catch Lucia, Zero needs to be at least 3-star. Therefore, Kim wonders how they will catch Lucia now. After that, Zero is sitting on thin land, in the northern ravine of bipedal snowfield. Zero then warms himself by rubbing his hands and takes a deep breath. Kim says that even in another world, the beginner level is 0-star. He then tells Zero that with this he is completely useless, as the opponent is the Great Demon King Lucia. Kim wonders how Zero suddenly used the 5-star skill 100 trillion cuts, or if there is a shortcut route that wasn't in the original work. Hence, he thinks in times like this, a full read-through is the answer. Kim then says he will be back soon and tells Zero to wait here. In response, Zero watches him sitting like a dog and keeps on waiting in the snow. Suddenly, Zero notices that horde of monsters have surrounded him, and then a ice bat of E rank screeches and attacks him from above. On the other hand, Zero thinks Kim abandoned him and made the bat his new pet, and then he angrily kills all of the monsters with his wire. At the same time, Kim in his apartment is searching for something, but can't find it. He tiredly says that there's no way to rapidly train or give Zero killer power. He knows even though he read it multiple times, he wouldn't miss such a hint. At this rate, he wouldn't be able to clear the daily quests and would starve to death. Suddenly, his stomach starts growling, and he wonders if he should go buy some instant noodles. After some time, somewhere in the city, a girl asks her friends if they know. She calls it seriously annoying and says she marked the coordinates for Bippy Snowfield and died falling. In reply, her friend asks if she's an idiot, why she went there, to which the girl replies, because Plaracoat material drops from the snow rabbit. Her friend again asks who even wears it these days and calls her an idiot, while the blonde girl says at times like this, there's no one to handle the nicotine. Suddenly, the black-haired girl points at Kim and wants to send him, to which the blonde girl asks who he is, to which her friend asks back if she doesn't know Kim Woojoo, the shuttle specialist. She says that he will do anything for spare change, and it seems he's crazy about money, to which the blonde girl says he's tall and looks decent, but her friend says that he has a 4D personality. She says that he is already near a store, and then the blonde girl calls him. She tells him to hold on a moment and grabs Kim's attention. Kim calls them Jihai and Minji, to which Jihai asks if he knows her name, and Minji asks what's with the honorifics among classmates. After that, Minji says that they would like to ask for some nicotine, and Jihai asks how about spare change in cash items. Kim then notices something, and asks if Sukai is there as well, to which she tells him to mind his own business and keep walking. Kim tells Sukai to bring back the books she borrowed from his dad, to which Minji asks what this is, and if they go to each other's houses. She asks if they are close friends or Sukai's ex-boyfriend, and then Jihai suggests Sukai to ask him if they are close, but Sukai shouts it's not like that. Meanwhile, Kim is watching the news on Jihai's phone, and suddenly feels something and pulls her away. The girls get scared seeing that, and then Jihai missed an accident from the motorbike. The biker apologizes and drives away while saying that he got a delay in delivery, to which Minji asks if he's crazy. Suddenly, Jihai wonders what she just saw now and what's with the force. She wonders what she should do now. She let her guard down because she thought he was just a shuttle service nerd. From her perspective now, she thinks that he's freaking cool. But in reality, Kim grabs her phone to see the news. Kim sees the setting materials, that it's a place with much information that could be covered in the original work. Minji then asks what's with the atmosphere, and asks Sukai if they are close. She tells her to let them formally introduce, but Sukai replies that she never said it. Kim says even the Great Demon King Lucia only mentioned enchantment magic, and there wasn't a scene showing it directly. He says that he needs to look into the initial setting materials of Androkimda, but Sukai gets shocked hearing that. Sukai then steps forward and asks Kim if he is talking about the ultimate villain, Great Demon King Lucia. Hearing which Kim replies that if she was a huge fan of his dad too, she would know Lucia for sure. He then says if that's the case, the awakening method of Killer Zero could be in the unpublished settings. Meanwhile, Sukai wonders if he means Killer Zero from the Killer Loves Today, and if there really is an unpublished setting. Sukai then says she can't just ignore that statement. It's as if he is implying there are unpublished materials, and yells that there's no such thing. She then runs at them while saying that what he mentioned doesn't exist in the market. She already has checked the internet, articles and publisher, to which Kim says it exists. He believes it's in a place he really hated. He then mentions that on his days off his dad didn't play with him. He sketched new works there, so he missed it, as it was right in front of his dad's study desk, and there are a lot of initial setting materials that are scattered around. Kim then tells them he has something urgent to do and says goodbye, to which Jihai and Minji shouts to take them too. After that, Kim goes away and Sukai wonders if it's in front of author Androkimda's study desk. She frustratedly calls this ridiculous and says she has never heard or seen such a thing. However, she wonders if the unpublished settings is true or not. Sukai feels like she needs to see it with her own eyes. Suddenly, she gets a phone call, and as she receives it, a man on the phone shouts that it's Jason. and mentions that he has set the coordinates to Wyvern Gorge and is instructed he will eliminate the insidious presence. Hearing which Sukai thinks and says right. On the other hand, in Bipedal Snowfield, Zero is still at the same place he was. However, he is drenched in blood from killing all the monsters and shivering in snow. He remembers someone telling him he has failed to achieve this mission, so a corresponding punishment is necessary. Rations are banned for 3 days. Remember that useless things are discarded. Zero feels frustrated and remembers Kim saying that he is completely useless. After that, Zero is surrounded by griffin riders. A rider unbelievably asks if this is all that's left of the vast Bippy snowfield. While another rider asks what this creature is, the player info window isn't showing. He says it's suspicious after seeing the bat's corpses below, so he will eliminate it for now. Saying which, all of the griffin fires cannon at Zero, and then one of them says it's confirmed hit and there's no life signs. But suddenly, Zero comes behind him and binds his wire on the guy's neck, which shocks the guy. In response, another guy shoots griffin cannon at Zero and hits him, to which he coughs blood from his mouth. Meanwhile, the scout guy says that he almost lost his head and asks if Zero withstood several hits from the griffin cannon. Anyway, it looks like the magic cannon delivered the final blow. Judging from the ice bat's corpse below, it seems it already fought and was almost dead. And as Zero doesn't move, the scout guy says that there is no life signs, and another guy comments that from now on, they will start a full investigation of the disappeared Bippy snowfield. Meanwhile, Zero is falling down unconsciously and remembers Kim telling him to wait here as he will be back soon. Suddenly, he gains back consciousness and grabs hold of the remaining pillar. Seeing which a rider asks what this is, he thought Zero was dead and if he is some kind of undead species. Zero then starts climbing back up, to which a rider comments that it will be easier to aim, and mentions that there is a limit to endurance. He will turn him to ashes and shoots a griffin cannon at Zero. Zero got hit by the beam and feels angry. He then remembers his lovely time with Kim and keeps on climbing up while the griffins are shooting him. He remembers Kim asking if he felt warmth for the first time. Suddenly, a cannon hits his left arm, to which his hand trembles in pain and looses the grip. To this, a rider calls Zero persistent idiot and tells him to die already. Meanwhile, Zero remembers telling Kim that he was too close and worriedly mentioned that his body was quite cold. After that, Zero grinds his teeth from frustration. He gets a quick burst of energy and reaches the peak. While he is about to grab the peak, he remembers Kim putting on a scarf around him and telling him that this is a premium item. Kim asked him if it was warm, as the scarf will no longer leave him cold. Then at present, Kim's hand reaches for Zero, and Zero grabs it. Kim then asks Zero if he's an idiot. If it's dangerous, he should avoid it for a while. He then asks if he just stood there and got hit just because he told him to wait. Meanwhile, Zero can't see him clearly, and as his eyes tear up after seeing Kim, he tells Zero that he did a good job as he managed to wait patiently. Hearing which, Zero cries like a baby. After all the crying, he gains back 2 stars. Seeing which, Kim realizes the 2-star charge is nice and tells Zero to not worry as he has more clothes. After that, Kim pulls Zero up and announces to solve this problem first. He mentions, even though Team Griffin is an outsourced company, it's directly affiliated with management, so dealing with it is risky. But he is so pissed now that he don't care about that and repels the rider's attack. To which a rider asks who is that player attacking them, and another asks if it could be that this guy is the real culprit behind this incident. Meanwhile, Kim realizes and says if he sends back the information organization, that's a risk itself. Therefore, by using Griffin's own magic cannon, he will avoid triggering a player kill. After that, Kim tells them to go to the space, and all of the griffins get hit with their own attack. The cannon spiral around the Earth and goes into space, that it covers the whole solar system. From another region, Lucia sees and calls Kim a funny one, because his power is weak, but he makes a lot of noise. She says he did well, as he brought a useful subordinate, and valuable information from beyond the dimension, as her evil eye sees everything. She narrates that even his father feared this eye. She tells Kim to come by calling him Child of God and also his proud Demon King's army, because the moment they arrive, she will establish the Great Demon King's army to conquer another world. But suddenly something lands behind Lucia, and it seems to be a mysterious man. Lucia confusedly asks what was that, while the man says that he has arrived. He then mentions that insidious presence confirmed and he will eliminate it immediately. Meanwhile, Kim narrates that numerous hits got recorded by the Munchkin web novel writer Andrew Gimita. Due to his overwhelming worldview and scale, attacks on the ground are absolutely prohibited. In addition, the nature that's inevitably destroyed is gradually restored. Hence, the game called The Another World was no exception. Kim realizes that also the damaged terrain is recovering. The original implementation rate of this game is amazing. The vast realm of the universe, he never expected it would be executed to this extent. Therefore, he believes there must be many monsters for it to do so. It's not like him, who already became a monster. Anyway, this power is just a hindrance because he can't clear daily quests, which feels like a curse to him. However, Lucia's slip of the tongue gave him a clue, as she said if she suddenly died, it might be lifted, so this means when the caster dies, the curse is resolved. After that, Kim asks Zero if he's ready, to which he hesitates. Meanwhile, Kim thinks a frontal confrontation may be hopeless, but assassination is possible. The Killer Munchkin web novel, The Killer Still Loves Today, it was mentioned in the middle of the 3rd volume. When assassinating an immortal boss, where boss mentions that you managed to sneak in here, but it's useless kid. He is an immortal being, but as he felt pain, he asks what did the guy do. Kim knows that it was a 3-star skill that can be only used on one person. Moreover, the ultimate skill that brings both physical death, as that of the brain, heart and cells, and mental death of the soul and thoughts. Therefore, he feels like Lucia can be caught with this permadeath. However, Zero's killer power is currently 2-star, and to use 3-star skill permadeath, he needs 1 more star. Yet, he is not worried, because he found a rapid growth unofficial route in his father's study, and that thing is rage. When Laura was fatally injured in the final stage, Zero went into extreme rage, but since he was already awakened, it wasn't noticeable. Hence, in short, the keyword here is rage. But Zero seems to be in a good mood, so he wonders how he can ruin that mood to the worst. Maybe he will try to make him alert. Kim then asks Zero if he thinks this assassination is a joke, and if he doesn't think he needs to be more composed. Hearing which, Zero says smile, to which Kim tells him to do it more as the killer is too bright now. He needs to be angrier at himself by having the mindset of pushing himself to the limit even more, things like that. However, Zero still confusedly says smile, to which he says not in that direction. He tells Zero to get more angry, until his heart bursts with rage, more of the anger boiling inside. To this, Zero feels sad and Kim wonders why he is getting intimidated by just a few words. What went wrong, and why it turned out this way. Or if it was when he offered a scarf to win his favor. He thinks that he awakened warmth in a cold-blooded killer too soon. He wonders if Zero's instinct collapsed. After that, he asks him if he knows that the scarf is a paid item for this assassination that he bet on. To which Zero feels devastated, and seeing his reaction, Kim realizes that they are in the right direction. He then says now he understands the gravity of the situation. This means he's a villain who would even take back a scarf he once gave him. Kim thinks that it feels like he is the one threatening with the scarf, and rage is building inside Zero. His star instantly changes into 3 stars, seeing which Kim asks if he's mentally ready now, to which Zero groans from anger. And then Kim mentions that then they should go and catch Lucia and teleports both of them to Wyvern Gorge. He says this is the Wyvern Gorge without wyverns, and Lucia will be lurking around somewhere. He then turns around and sees a man trying to choke Lucia, who yells that she is opposed to violence, and he wonders why she is getting beaten. But instantly, Zero attacks the blonde guy with his killer instinct, and hits the guy with his ability, to which the guy asks what he's doing and who is he. He slashes the blonde guy multiple times, but the guy tanks it with his braces. He asks again what he's doing, and mentions that this is obviously a player killing attempt. Kim then tells Zero to stop it, the target is not that way. However, Kim is shocked as the guy is still intact. Meanwhile, the guy asks why he is interfering with his work. He was here to eliminate a disruptive presence based on reports. To which Kim thinks that disruptive presence, he is totally agreed to it. The guy asks why he is not responding, to which Kim replies what he said, and the blonde guy asks what his intention is. Then the guy mentions that this can be seen as a player killing attempt, to which Kim questions the statement. He wonders if the guy thinks that he just attacked him, to which he remembers that back then, he told Zero that he has weak stamina, so he needs to hit and run quickly, and never reveal his form. Kim then realizes that he attacked preemptively, while the blonde guy calls him a fool, and asks what other intention could there be. Lucia adds that other than conquering this world, no matter how Kim looks, he is her proud demon lord. Hearing which, Kim wonders what she is saying. Her every single word is nonsense, or if she got hit in the head. Lucia further mentions that the tables have turned, and says Kim even calls himself God. Kim can't believe it and wonders if she's really boasting about it here. He thinks Lucia is done for and wishes her to die. Meanwhile, the blonde guy questions God and tells her to explain clearly, while Kim says that the fact is he was attacking Lucia and it missed. The guy asks if he's for real, to which Kim replies that he will support him and tells him to kill her in the most painful way. However, the blonde guy menacingly asks him if he thought he would just let it go. The guy then dashes at Kim and mentions that he straight up started suddenly attacking. He didn't even get to introduce himself. He asks him if he knows this game is based on an original work, and in the original, there is a limited edition that requires a key. He then mentions that he is the user who unlocked the limited edition with that key. He is Jason Poulter, just one CEO, and asks if he heard of that name. Hearing which, Kim asks just one, and wonders if that's a famous security company. Suddenly he remembers Jason Poulter and thinks he definitely heard that name. He narrates that Jason is one of the top ranked in this world, and wonders if he's one of the rankers. Moreover, they earned a fortune through high-ranked quests, as the personal security company just won. Kim realizes it's their CEO, and he misunderstood a top-ranked player of this game. On the other hand, Jason says Kim has been rude to him from the start, and didn't even flinch after hearing his name. However, Kim knows he is terrified to the point his body hair is standing up, but his iron mask is maintaining a poker face. Meanwhile, Jason says for an attention seeker like him, a beating is the solution. Hearing which, Kim thinks this is too much, as Jason is attacking someone as insignificant as him. For a life just by scraping daily quests, it got really twisted. He can't even use the power Lucia gave, because if he kills a player, he will end up being hunted. Moreover, Zero is a guy who follows orders well, so until he gets signal, he will be hiding. And Lucia on the other hand needs to be killed. He wonders if this is the end, and he keeps thinking about cup ramen he couldn't eat. After that, Jason lands a powerful punch, but Kim dodges it mid-air. Suddenly, Kim realizes that he dodged that punch from this angle. He feels like he's floating, and wonders if his body flew away leaving only the soul. Jason angrily mentions that getting overconfident after dodging once, while Kim wonders if he's still alive. Jason then asks while using another attack, what if it was an indifference deathly combination? Kim dodges the attack again and thinks he can dodge this too. He is starting to understand the principle of this movement. Moreover, he is starting to understand. This thin thread wrapping around his body is definitely Zero's. This is the technique used when rescuing hostages, called wire marionette. On the other hand, Jason angrily asks how Kim is dodging again, while Kim thinks that the problem is Jason getting more and more mad. He then calls Jason, but Jason tells him to shut up and attack Kim, and while dodging he replies he wants to talk, to which Jason shouts that he said shut up. After that, Kim asks if this isn't clearly player killing, and if he really wants to tarnish his career by catching someone like him. Jason then grabs Kim's hood and asks who is worried about whom, as this situation has nothing to do with player killing. He says that this is a one-on-one battle, a showdown, and tells Kim he attacked first and he responded. To this, Kim asks if it's legal if he kills him then, to which Jason agrees while preparing his attack, and mentions that this is a one-on-one battle showdown rule. Hearing which, Kim replies if it's true, then that's a relief. Kim realizes that he didn't know about it, because he only cleared daily quests. Meanwhile, Lucia wonders if Kim's activation has been triggered and calls him a slowpoke lackey. Jason lands a punch on Kim, while he thinks that let's do it, begin the fight. Suddenly, he lands a punch on Jason which confuses him, while Kim then tells him to hold on tight, as they are about to go on a space tour. The powerful aura from the punch overwhelms Jason, and pressure goes into space. However, Jason uses extreme pressure which nullifies Kim's power. Jason then calls it ridiculous and Kim asks if he saw the destructive power, to which Jason says that strength, it's incredible. But of course, it can't deal even a speck of damage to him, which confuses Kim. Kim didn't know that the power that Lucia gave him would become ineffective soon. He wonders who would even want this kind of power and thinks someone is messing with his life. He is annoyed at Lucia and is confused why Zero moved over there. Meanwhile, Jason asks what's wrong or if he's surprised because his attack didn't work. He tells Kim he is trying really hard to act like he is not surprised. In reply, Kim asks if it's his expression and mention that this is because of the iron mask skin sold in the store. He is confused and wonders if Jason misunderstood him because of his face. But Jason replies that he doesn't care, he will just crush his face. To which Kim states that peeling off someone's face skin is kind of, and realizes something. He thinks what was the penalty for losing this battle, after seeing that the penalty is character deletion. He narrates as long as both parties agree, It's a system that allows players to compete against each other. Since it allows legitimate player kill, it also requires a significant bet like the courage to delete one's character. After that, Kim says there's also a draw option, and asks if there is no way to negotiate. He mentions that he don't have the luxury to create and level up a new character, so he wants to secure the victory first. Kim then points his finger to block Jason's fist, which is blocked by the Zero ability. He narrates usually other players can't interfere in a one-on-one match, but Zero, who was summoned from another dimension, seems to be an exception. So in other words, he will defend himself with Zero's abilities and deal the damage himself. But this time he will hold back a bit as he punches the Jason and wonders if he will be able to ignore the damage. After that punch, Jason goes crashing on the ground. He circles the entire earth from a single attack on a straight line, after which he comes back to where he got hit. Jason then asks what that was just now, and if he circled the entire earth. He tells Kim that his attack power is insane. He asks if isn't he the real dangerous one here, to which Kim gets confused and replies that as expected, his attacks aren't landing properly. Hearing which, Jason confusedly asks attacks, or if he doesn't know his abilities, and mentions that he even appeared on the game homepage as a banner ad because of his rank. But Kim replies that he is not interested in rankings, to which Jason asks if he is not interested in rankings with that kind of power. Jason then realizes it and tells Kim he thought with this much power he can manage somehow, and he decided to take it easy. To which Kim asks what, and says there's no way. Jason replies when one is in this position, they can see people's minds clearly, and especially those with inferiority complexes like his. With a little bit of hope, he gets all excited and then makes mistakes by overthinking things. In response, Kim cryingly tells him to not hit him where it hurts all of a sudden. He thinks it's so accurate that he's not even upset. Seeing which, Jason says he will remind him again it won't affect the outcome anyway. He then states vision and number 0 appears on top of his head, and asks if he knows this mode. He says this is the one where damage is displayed as in numbers. Kim replies it's an expensive premium item, to which Jason says okay. He then puts his face forward and tells Kim to hit him again. He will only feel good when his will is broken, because he... But before he completed the sentence, Kim punches him, to which Jason screams, and the power from the punch goes into space in a straight line. After the punch, the 0 turns into 1. Kim notices it and says that the damage is only 1. Jason replies that's right, and mentions that any type of attack only does 1 damage. This is one of the limited key abilities in the other world game, which is known as just 1, and he became a ranker with just this ability. Jason then says that his HP is 120,000, now which will be faster, his HP getting depleted, or Kim dying, saying which he tries to punch Kim. However, Kim instantly dodges the punch and pokes Jason, to which he replies he must be so scared that he can't even respond properly, while Kim is poking, which deals -1 damage. To this, Lucia asks what this is, dealing only -1 damage no matter what, and calls it a truly pathetic ability. She says he just needs to hit Jason until he dies, it's simply that kind of ability. Lucia and 0 then cheers for Kim, to which Kim thinks those two shouldn't be getting along, but they keep sticking together. However, he also has the same thoughts as he just confirmed, because no matter where he hit Jason, he only deals 1 damage, and it was exactly the same with a full swing too. In other words, even a light tap can deal damage. After that, Kim says the boss in Colossus Volume 2 wore armor called Golden Armor, which was a cheat item that automatically regenerated 1 HP every 0.001 seconds. To which Jason tensely asks if he just said Golden Armor. Kim agrees and says that he already knows the method to counter an ability like his. Kim then calls 0 to switch to attack mode. In response, 0 activates his special move called Midsummer Night's Winter Rain, seeing which Jason get confused. Meanwhile, Kim narrates it's a large technique that consumes 2 stars of killer power by cutting and scattering mana into wires to spread around. But in this showdown, he has to win first, while Jason is confused about 0's ability. He gets hit with the attack. His HP is depleting rapidly, seeing which Jason says that this technique is a bit troublesome. And more than that, the most troublesome is that the attack has a knockback effect imbued in it. He can't close the distance like this. Kim then says it's too early to be surprised, as this technique attacks more than 1,000 times per minute. So in roughly 10 minutes, the match will be over, so he better come up with a countermeasure quickly. To which Jason says he does have about 10 minutes to think about it. In the meantime, he would like to hear more about the Golden Armor. Kim agrees and mentions that this item was worn by the boss of the 2nd volume of The Killer Loves Today, which is another work by the game's creator Kim, and thanks to the absurdly high speed recovery of the armor, he could maintain full health even under rapid-fire attacks, similar to his infinite health ranker. But they managed to defeat him with the ultimate move Midsummer Night's Winter Rain, to which Jason replies that he understands while tanking damage from Zero's rain. Kim then asks why he is so interested in the golden armor or if he's a fan of the creator. To this, he smilingly says no way, but he knows someone who has the ability to create such miraculous legendary items. He says that's why he can never lose. Hearing which, Kim gets shocked, while Jason nullifies Zero's attack somehow and says he will tell him. He says that he is wearing the golden armor called the Divine Equipment. Kim is confused by this and wonders if Jason is saying his dad reused a concept from Colossa in this game. If so, he calls this as a blatant plagiarism phone by his dad. He then narrates that he never read the original work of this game, which is his dad's final posthumous work, because he overworked himself due to that work. He thought this took his dad away from him, but he is tensed by his dad's recycling concepts. Meanwhile, Jason calls Kim the one with an inferiority complex and asks why he isn't reacting. He again says that he is wearing the golden armor he mentioned, and asks if he has to show him directly to make him understand, and comments double vision. +1 pops up and Jason tells Kim to see that his health is increasing. This is the special ability of the golden armor. It recovers 1 HP every 0.1 seconds. He then asks if it ain't just as impressive as his summer rain or winter rain, because combined with his just 1, every damage he takes is turned into 1, making him invincible. Jason then tauntfully asks what he thinks. Does he still wants to try to fight him? As Kim thinks, he receives a new email and checks that it's Sukai's email. Sukai asks him in the email where he is. She has something to tell him, to which Kim realizes that this attack was indeed a waste. Therefore, he tells Zero that it's enough. Zero is confused by this, and Kim says the match has been decided, to which Jason confusedly asks if he is saying that he has tried everything. Kim agrees and says he feels like it's pointless and inefficient to continue anymore, while Lucia smilingly calls Kim slowpoke and says now he's going in the right direction. Kim then menacingly says that he will end this match with just 1 hit. Hearing which, Jason asks if he still doesn't get it. The combination of his just 1 ability, with its ability to inflict just 1 damage, and the legendary golden armor which restores 1 HP every 0.1 seconds, and says with this in theory he is invincible. He got no chance against him, and asks why he hasn't acknowledged it yet, or if it's because he has the reality denial passive skill of a loser. But Kim stays silent and checking his mail, to which Jason angrily asks if he can't answer, while Kim continues to check his mail. After that, Kim says that this match is definitely meaningless. He then tells Zero to stop his attack. This showdown is over. Hearing which, Zero got confused, while Kim mentions that he has used all the attacks he could. After that, Zero stops his winter rain attack. Jason then asks why he will not attack anymore while his HP is restoring. Kim replies that he thinks multiple attacks by themselves are meaningless now, to which Jason says he is quick to catch that, but asks if he knows they are in character deletion showdown, or if he thinks he will go easy on him. Hearing which, Kim confusedly asks what, while Zero suddenly goes to Lucia beggingly, and Lucia tells him that there's no need to make a fuss. She then asks what he's worried about, and mentions that Kim's spirit hasn't been broken yet. He's actually calmer now, and it's good to trust him for once. Kim then tells Jason that he seems to have a misunderstanding. He concluded that he won, but unlike a ranker like him, he is willing to show mercy. Therefore, Kim offers to settle it with a draw. He realizes, thinking of a potential backlash, a draw isn't a bad option. But Jason angrily tells him to shut up, and attacks him while telling him to stop talking and just die. Kim thinks he hesitated for a bit because it might be bothersome, but he has to settle this, to which he taps on the email window. Seeing which, Jason asks if he's opening the email window in this situation, and says he don't have time to write a will, to which Kim says he is just trying to unblock some spam emails. The unread plus 999 emails. He thinks there must be over 1 million spam emails piled up over the past 10 years. Therefore, he will unblock them all at once. At the same time, Jason, while attacking, says that spam emails doesn't matter in this situation. He is making a big deal about nothing. On the other hand, Lucia mentions that this is why she said there's nothing to worry about. Kim feels like the attack is simple, so he can dodge it without Zero's wire, and that's why he has only a single step to cling on and holds Jason's hand, to which Jason confusedly asks what he is doing now. He replies he's holding on to him. The spam emails will come soon. Jason again confusedly asks what he's saying, to which Kim says since he has one, he can share some info. He then says he thinks they aren't on the same page because of this iron mask, as it's used to cover his real face. He started the game after his family fell apart, so he made this customization out of anger. Therefore, he wants to show him what he looks like while his face changes. He mentions that he called him a loser and a vermin, and asks where is this inferiority complex hiding. Seeing which Jason's covered his eyes and asks what did he just see. Meanwhile, Lucia says that this sudden turn of events is unexpected, but she loves how ugly his face is. It matches the Demon King of Hell perfectly. Lucia then blushingly asks if that's the Demon King of Hell. If so, then after 30,000 years, she is ready for marriage. Meanwhile, Kim thinks that he has stalled Jason enough. He then tells him that he lowered his eyes while he is struggling, to which Jason replies that it scared him, so he won't let him die so easily now. After that, he activates full power and shouts that he will grind him to dust. Jason then calls on Excalibur and hits Kim, but he replies that the spam emails are just starting to come in, and over 1 million spam emails will alarm him at once, so he warns Jason to not be surprised. To which he angrily asks why does he care about spam emails when he's about to be deleted. Kim replies that he cares because he set the notification to vibrate. Suddenly, the emails have arrived with enormous vibration, which is depleting Jason's HP rapidly. Jason screams from the pain of vibration. Kim explains that the vibration frequency is 40,000 times per second, with his body that takes damage from even slight touch. Therefore, 1 million spam emails mean instant death. He will name this technique fatal to him, a finishing move called Spam Vibrator Destroyer Bomb. Jason's health is rapidly decreasing compared to his health regeneration. Jason is screaming from pain while the aura is reaching into the solar system. Kim then explains that the tremendous impact of the vibration from 1 million spam emails was momentary, but it caused a huge ripple across the universe. The event not only awakened a dark egg that would bring great disaster to the game, but also highlighted the existence of the dust-like solar system. Seeing which Lucia says, even though it's in a bullshit way, it's cool to her, while Zero watches confusedly. Kim narrates, it made the heart of the hero race anyway in the one-on-one showdown. Meanwhile, Jason's HP gets down to 0, and he turns to dust, which makes Kim Woojoo the winner of this showdown, while Kim asks if he won. Suddenly, he noticed a dropped item which is the golden armor. He then picks it up and says that this item might provide safety in the unknown areas as defense. Therefore, he wears it immediately while Lucia and Zero are coming to him. Lucia is about to compliment Kim, but both of them burst out laughing after seeing Kim. As the armor is much bigger than him, Kim tells them to not laugh and thinks why isn't it fitting. He tells them to stop laughing and help him, but they continues to laugh, and Lucia states that he is still the biggest laughing stock of the demon world. Meanwhile, somewhere in the student council room, Sukai asks why Kim is ignoring the messages. She mentions that talking about initial setup data made her uneasy, and now Kim has nothing to do at home but clear daily quests. Suddenly her phone rings, but as she picks up the call, Jason panickingly mentions that it's him. Hearing which she replies that it's school, and requests him to report quietly. To which Jason agrees and says that sorry to inform her, but he was defeated by an unknown entity. Sukai shockingly asks him for real, while Jihai gets out of the HVR and says that she can't focus on the game. She then asks Sukai if she said she has known Kim since they were kids. If so, then she must know where he lives. She further mentions that she's thinking so much about Kim that she can't focus on the game. She feels like her heart's going to explode. She can't stand it anymore. She then loudly says that she's going to confess today, to which Sukai tells her to wait. Meanwhile, in the past, Jihai is remembering the time Kim saved her from an accident. After that, in the present, outside of Kim's apartment, Jihai says that she thinks she misheard. But Kim replies that as he said there's no way they would date, and asks why he would do that. Jihai says that she still confessed, and suggests him to meet first and see, but Kim replies that this is not the situation to joke around in. Hearing which Jihai asks joke, while Kim shuts the door and mention he still has to clear a quest, so he will go now. However, he suddenly opens the door and asks if he can't change jobs after this incident, because if so, he will be really disappointed. He then says that he will see her at school tomorrow, while Jihai is shaking from emotions and angrily asks if that's how he's leaving. Therefore, she runs away from there with pent-up anger, after which she calls someone and asks how dare he reject her, and states that she won't forgive him. She then mention her name is Minji, and tell her to gather up the guild members. Meanwhile, in his room, Kim wonders if she left, He thinks she's an important client, but he greeted her coldly should he arrange a shuttle for them. However, he thinks now is not the time to worry about that, but maybe if she had brought a convenience store lunch, they might have dated. Outside his apartment there is someone, and Kim wonders if she really brought lunch. He then opens the door and says he has thought about it a few times, but as he saw her landlady, he gets scared, and the landlady asks how many times she has said this before. She then loudly asks how many times she said this when he is going to pay the monthly rent, to which Kim replies that soon. After that, in the Wyvern Gorge, as he enters, Lucia mentions that he's late and calls him her Demon Lord #1. She then asks if he is now a candidate for her future husband and says that just thinking about it makes her nervous. But Kim tells her to keep babbling as Zero's stamina has recovered. He then orders Zero to finish it, but Zero is confused by this, while Kim thinks even though he's just at level 1, he has a pretty good chance. Because he saw it clearly when Jason got hit, Lucia was summoned to the Deer World, when all the power of the heroes was sealed. He then calls on Zero and commands him to finish it, and further thinks, in other words, Lucia is weak right now, and now it's the limit. This endless curse and poverty will be severed by removing Lucia. However, Zero brings Lucia and Kim closer to make them friends, to which Kim calls Zero and wonders what is the intention behind this. Zero then looks at Kim blushingly, and Kim wonders if this is a gesture of reconciliation. Kim then says it's nonsense, he will need thorough killer education later. However, he knows this was also part of the calculation. If Zero's attack doesn't work, he will have to intervene personally. As he attacks Lucia, his punch pushes all the clouds into space and disrupts the satellites. However, Zero stops Kim, to which Kim tells him that he's not someone that he can reconcile with. Kim then asks if it's a face that seems to hope for peace in the killer theme. Moreover, he wonders if this attack could block a level 1 Zero. If not, then this power is gradually weakening. He thinks it's a reasonable assumption, but such immense power can't be sustained. Therefore, he wants to take the first step with this confidence and clear the overdue quest now. He then takes a step forward, and shockwaves goes into the space, seeing which Lucia grabs him and then says it's nice to see him trying to make her happy today. And Kim asks if he should clear the way. Lucia says it seems that the children summoned with Kim's key are forming a strange bond, hearing which he wonders what she means by bond, and how she knows about the existence of the key. She then points in front and tells Kim to accept the blessing. She says that evidence of the Demon Lord's founding dungeon has been created. Meanwhile, Kim thinks this is the first time he has seen it. This is the sign of the Demon Lord's resurrection. He knows if it's that dungeon in Lucia's neighborhood, this game will truly meet its end. She then says all of this is because he brought Zero, creating a Demon Lord army with more than 2 members. His contribution is great, but Kim realizes she's trying to involve him again. So he replies that who she is trying to drag into this, and pushing away her hand, he shouts at her to not make him laugh, and asks who's the Demon Lord and the subordinate. Lucia asks since she is his potential husband, she needs a bigger title, but he tells her to knock it off. Kim narrates that he slightly raised the price, but it seems like it doesn't work on her, and even if she wants to stop the dungeon creation, there's no way she can right now. He thinks he can't do anything like this, as he's at his limit, and if he should quit the game. Meanwhile, Lucia says all that's left is to make money off of Kim. After all, dungeons are a business opportunity. Kim gets confused hearing that, and wonders what she's saying. She mentions that dungeons are truly lands of opportunity, and asks if there aren't going to be countless challenges from adventurers, aiming for the treasures and riches it. Hearing which Kim asks if she got treasures or goods, but Lucia replies that there aren't, but there's a dungeon. Just by collecting the entrance fee, life will be turned around instantly. She then asks what he's doing. Even just selling potions could change people's fortunes, so she tells him to hurry up and finish the dungeon. As he prepares his equipment, he tells her to not say such ridiculous things, and asks if she thinks he will be fooled with such a sweet talk. He is not such an easy person, because if she's going to persuade him, she should tell him in detail, and asks if they should start the construction right away. Kim narrates that he said it's the limit because he couldn't endure it, and with this, he officially became a Demon Lord. After that, on top of the dungeon, he says with the wire mesh spread out, movement is possible, and asks her how she knows about this, to which she replies that her demon eye sees through everything, and her greatness is not limited to that alone. She then uses her power on top of the dungeon, seeing which Kim asks what this is, but she replies he will find out soon enough. After that, the dungeon's land duplicates, and Kim says it's killing him, while she reveals that it's a guide map, so he just needs to dig it as it is. She says if he understands it, he can consider it an honor, and tells him to dig the ground. Kim mentions that there's too many to dig it up, to which Lucia replies that's right. She then lies down, and he asks what she's doing. To which she asks if he ever saw a great demon lord work and mentions it's only the first floor, so he should hurry up. It's a task that requires a lot of effort. He wonders why it feels like that the hurdle for the limit has gotten even higher. After some time, as he is digging up the lands, Lucia asks why he is so slow, and how he is going to make a fortune like that. Kim thinks that he is starving to death and is doing hard labor, so he doesn't care about the limits now, as he might die. Suddenly some players show up, and Jihai mentions that Sukai said he would be doing a quest at the Wyvern's Nest, and she was right, as she found Kim. She then angrily asks how dare he dumped her, she will make him regret it. To this, a guy asks Jihai what's that guy doing digging the ground. But Jihai shouts that she brought all the first year guild, so he's going to get a lesson today. Hearing which, Kim turn around and replies that there's too many people, to which Jihai asks if he's scared now. She says it's too late for regrets, while powers up magic on her hand, and says that even now if he changes his mind, she might step back, to which the bulky guy asks step down from what? Kim states that the atmosphere of being surrounded by the first years and getting into an argument doesn't feel good for some reason. Suddenly, a flash of insight struck him, to which both Zero and Lucia feels something. Kim then puts palm on his face like evil, and says he is thrilled there is a way to break through it. He narrates that dungeon is a hallowed ground of adventure, where life hangs by a thread. That's the reward for the Demon King's legacy, because the greater the danger, the greater the reward. But they are seriously short-handed for such a monumental task. While Jihai tells him that he has been caught red-handed, and is going to learn his lesson today. Meanwhile, he thinks that even the aftermath of confession is upon him, and he laughingly says that they actually came all this way. On the other hand, Lucia loves Kim's new attitude. He then menacingly says it's a life or death crisis, and he has got the perfect solution. Hearing which, Jihai asks if he's not impressed even after seeing them, and says he only cares if money is involved. She further asks if he wants to have a 4-on-1 showdown, waging whoever wins gets whatever they want. Kim replies he's been through hell and back with these showdowns, and this time it's a 4-on-1 now. He then blushingly asks if she's sure about the get whatever you want thing, to which she agrees, and a red-haired guy asks if Kim will go for it, as they wouldn't get anything from Kim. Hearing which, Minji asks if it's serious, and another guy states it would be embarrassing even if they won. However, Minji confusedly wonders if Jihai didn't say she would confess to Kim. Don't tell her if she's taking out the anger of getting rejected. Meanwhile, Jihai tells Kim to hurry up and decide, as he's the lackey who's crazy about making money. To which Kim asks, before that, if this is all the first-year boss could muster, and where Sukai is. But Jihai tells him to shut up, and asks if he thinks someone like him can get Sukai involved, to which he says that's a bit of a shame. Jihai then says it's as she thought, he likes Sukai and only messing with her. She can't forgive him. To this, the red-haired guy realizes the situation, and tells them to get this over with. He then yells at Kim to stop dawdling, and asks if he's going to show down or not. Kim replies that they surely do have to, and comments call. Therefore, the duel's cause is that Kim wants labor, and the guild wants solidarity. Then the ashen-haired guy asks what they are betting on, and Jihai says this is bold, just like the guy she fell for. He is gonna be hers. She then throws an attack called Evolution Wham Energy at Kim. Lucia sees it, and tensely asks what that skill was, as she forgot it. Meanwhile, Kim asks if it's a long-range magic attack, and thinks that without Zero, this would have been a terrible matchup. But now, there are plenty of solutions, and he calls Zero, to which Zero responds. Kim then tells Jihai that her aim is terrible, and she's unexpectedly clumsy. A jar-named animal is near Kim, and her attack hits it. After that, it grew into mature form, to which he asks if it evolved into a monster due to aging. Therefore, he calls Jihai and asks if she's an evolution sorcerer, and if it's an unusual profession. To which she blushingly asks if he's realizing it now and mentions that she is a rare class in him.Will, known as an evolution sorcerer. She angrily mentions that he should have seized the opportunity when it was presented, and orders the monster to attack him, to which he realizes it's a bothersome ability. However, he welcomes close-range combat, as he has defeated higher-level wyverns before. But suddenly, Lucia tells Kim that he must not kill it, and tells him to capture it and make it her servant. They are valuable resources to fill the dungeon, and it's one of his primary duties. Hearing which, Kim confusedly asks about capturing this creature. He wonders if she's on her right mind. They are already in the middle of a 4-on-1 showdown. Unless one's a professional hunter, people have to wear the creature down until they are incapacitated to capture them, so there's no way he can control his power for a one-hit kill. Therefore, Kim asks the guild members what they are up to, or if they are just going to stand around in the middle of the showdown, and tells them to come on. By doing so, Kim wonders if he can use their attacks to his advantage. To this, both Jihai and Minji feel shy, and the ashen-haired guy gets frustrating. Suddenly, the red-haired guy attacks Kim and says he gets why Jihai is doing so, and the ashen-haired guy also attacks Kim while saying that he's curious too. Moreover, they mention that Kim is unbearably smug. In response, he diverts their attack and says that might be a problem, as it's hitting the jar. From both of their attacks, the jar's HP is rapidly depleting, to which the red-haired guy asks if he's enjoying this even though they are losing, while Kim realizes that if it's like this, they can capture it now. Jihai shockingly says her evolved form keeps getting hit and tells Minji to attack too. Minji agrees and casts Ice Arrow at the Kim, noticing which Kim realizes that they have ranged magic too. But it doesn't matter, it will just make finishing them off much quicker. While the three of them are attacking Kim, and he is just dodging, he feels like it's getting tough. Suddenly, all three of their attacks comes together at Kim, but he dodged them at the right moment and it hit the jar face. Kim then tauntfully asks them if this is all they have got. He is starting to feel a bit tired, which annoys both of the guild guys. The red-haired guy prepares an attack and says it's because he is dodging too much, and also he has crossed the line. To this, the other guy also agrees and tells Kim to go to sleep if he's tired. However, they unleash their ultimate skills and mentions, but before he rests, try their ultimate skills. The red-haired guy uses Phoenix Smash, and the other guy uses Moon Swings. But he catches both of their attacks and turns it into a tornado, which shocks all of the guild members. He then narrates if he wants to fill the dungeon with monsters, he can't rely on using other people's attacks every time. So if he could summon a jerk, then with this power, he could even revive a monster that has been turned into dust, and make it his servant. Kim wonders if the key has just been created. If so, he wants to give it a shot. However, he wants to finish this first and looks at Zero. In response, Zero uses his wire to bounce the ultimate attack at Jar. The jar gets hit with it mid-air, seeing which Jihai yells that she doesn't like it. The guild members are shocked by this, while Jihai is worried about her evolutionary creature. Kim states it's good, and comments to prepare to capture something from now on. He then holds an item from his inventory, but suddenly the jar has turned into something else. Seeing which, Kim shockingly tells Lucia that she is the only one who can summon something like that. Even in the web novel she was in, it was a transcendental being known as a disaster. He then asks Lucia if she's insane for summoning the black tortoise here. It is also known as Nightmare's Cody. Sukai says this tortoise is the god from the East Xuanwu, which is a scale of about 1.5 kilometers, and calls it unfair. Moreover, she says she secretly came because she heard Jason got defeated, because monsters surpassing foreknowledge are overflowing. She thinks Lucia must be the final boss of surviving as the strongest in the world of strongest, as the Demon King of Hell. Also, that hermit is the lonely wolf from The Killer Loves Today, called the Killer Zero. She realizes that the privilege of the Demon King, a dungeon territory, has appeared in the Wyvern Gorge. Moreover, what's most surprising to her is that the ominous being that was predicted by her foreknowledge, and the chaos bringer who caused this situation, she wonders, was a super nerd Kim Woojoo, who was just a bread shuttle at school, and what he is thinking causing such a horrible thing. Meanwhile, the red-haired guy asks Jihai if she can evolve it to this extent, and Minji confusedly asks if it's a mob with no registration information. Jihai replies that he honestly doesn't know either. There was no monster of that size in the evolution encyclopedia. She might be a more unique evolution mage. Meanwhile, the black tortoise thinks he has definitely experienced this place. He was clearly heading towards his homeland in the east, but he ended up heading to another strange place. But in the end, because of Lucia, his path was obstructed. Therefore, he thinks a severe punishment is necessary and attack them. The guild members dodges the attack and tell Jihai that's dangerous, so command carefully. The attack is targeted at Lucia, and the ground cracks from the impact. Seeing which, the guild members asks what this attack power and if it ain't a disaster level. However, Kim blocks the attack along with the help of Zero's wire, to which Lucia asks if he ended up saving her, and says he tried so hard to kill her, but changed his mind after seeing the dungeon. She then mentioned that money really is something, but Kim replies if she's in her right mind for summoning such a beast into this game. It's a mob that was called a disaster even where she were. It almost split the earth, not just for money. To which Lucia says, so it was about money, and tells him to not act sharp at times like this. It's the first boss monster to be placed in the dungeon. It wouldn't be a topic if it was an easy strategy monster, so she summoned it. A unique mob in a dungeon is valuable, so it must be captured, to which he replies it's easier said than done, and wonders if she knows what kind of being this is. He then narrates that it's a divine beast that Lucia mistakenly summoned to the protagonist's village in the story, and just letting it walk around could destroy a country. And even in the strongest in the world of strongest, it was called a disaster, and she wants to capture it. He thinks saying it so easily is really annoying. But she is not wrong, because him.Will is indeed an ultra-unique existence in this game. No one knows what unique item it might drop, so just thinking about it creates a business vision. So he guesses he has no choice but to try. While him.Will finds this interesting, that his attack, which even devastates a village, can be withstood by a mere human. Meanwhile, Jihai calls him.Will and asks if he can hear her, and mentions that she is his master, the evolution mage, known as all wisdom of the world. She proposes to talk after the showdown and orders him to attack Kim, to which he replies that a mere creature dares speak to him, they have committed an unforgivable sin, and attacks the guild members. Minji is worried about this feeling of being drained. She then tells everyone that she's out of MP, and she can't maintain flying at this rate. After that, they all are falling from the sky, seeing which Kim says this can't happen, and swipes his hand, which creates a gust of wind, and he further mentions that he has a mountain of things to do after the showdown. His body can't handle this. However, the guild members are levitating from Kim's gust of wind, and the red-haired guy confusedly asks about it. Then they slowly fall down on the wire made by Zero. Jihai is confused about this cushion feeling, while the ashen-haired guy says that he survived because there was no fall damage. Jihai then shouts that him.Will doesn't recognize its master and almost killed her, and asks if he wants to get scolded. him.Will asks if they survive by luck and prepares an attack, and mention that the only punishment is certain death. Meanwhile, Kim says that at this rate, the dungeon territory is going to be dangerous, and tells Zero to hurry up, to which Zero uses his wire to throw Kim into the sky. After that, Kim is right in front of him.Will's attack, and him.Will realizes that he is the human who withstood his attack. He then tells Kim that he is permitting him to speak, but Kim punches his yellow fireball that confuses him, and the ball flies high into the space, seeing which him.Will shockingly realizes that his strike pierced the sky, and even left scars on his ironclad body, so he asks Kim who he is. But he asks if he doesn't know, and says he has never met Lucia in person, so he guesses this kind of power is new to him. This time, he will hit him with 0.001% of his power, and asks if some powder will remain. him.Will calls it nonsense and zaps Kim, and tells him to lose all that energy, to which Kim is tensed about this feeling of losing something. While Minji says that technique that drains MP is used again, and the red-haired guy asks if she sees it. She states if the MP is drained, even Kim will fall, and asks if this game's going to be okay. Kim then checks his status bar and realizes that this technique drains MP to 0, after which him.Will asks how it feels to have his power taken away. But he replies that not much different, as he doesn't use MP, and him.Will replies back that he is bluffing. But unlike him, who can do nothing without energy, him as a god have the blessing of infinite regeneration. However, he thinks Kim is a potential nemesis to the gods, who must be eliminated quickly. By doing so, he will also eliminate the one who mocked him and caused this disaster, the main culprit Lucia. Meanwhile, Kim calls it demoralizing, and says he got a little excited hearing that. He wondered if he would be weakened, so he expected it, and tells him.Will that he is proud of draining his MP, which he doesn't even use. However, Kim knows it's just another reason to activate the dungeon, and to weaken his body, he needs him. He then proposes to finish this quickly, but him.Will tells him to wait as they are in the middle of a conversation, to which he say no conversation, and him.Will asks Kim if he forgot that he is an immortal being with infinite regeneration. While Kim replies it doesn't matter, and asks about gritting his teeth. him.Will replies it's just a foolish waste of time, and says he will give him another chance to reconsider. But Kim again replies that he said no, and tells him that he talks too much. After that, him.Will attacks Kim while telling him to die, and unleashes the divine secret art called 10 Tails, hearing which the guild members ask if that was an explosion, as they can't see because of the dust. Meanwhile, Lucia calls this splendid and says business looks promising. On the other hand, Sakai realizes the divine beast was taken down in one strike and wonders about the crazy future, and she sees that time goes by suddenly here and asks if 3 years have passed. Meanwhile, Kim punches the ball with the power granted by Lucia. Although it was controlled with 0.001% of the power, the divine beast was annihilated by its overwhelming destructive power. The wind pressure from that power accelerated the Earth's rotation, and as a result, the Earth's rotation sped up 1095 times in an instant, making 3 years pass by quickly. Some part of Xuewu is left and asks if he faced complete annihilation. He comments it was truly an incredible being, but a god, even if completely annihilated, can resurrect after 3 years. Eternity never withers, while Kim captured him in a capsule. Kim narrates that just straight from the universe, something accelerated the rotation of the Earth within the game, making 3 years pass by in an instant, to which the control team panickingly say that the statistics aren't showing up. There's a report that a dragon appeared 3 times in a row at the Hell Cliff. The eastern region is also overflowing with goblins. Because of that, the entire region was experiencing a monster load. Meanwhile at the guild, Showdown team were surrounded by some wyverns, to which they shouts what is going on all of a sudden. Why did a flock of wyverns suddenly regenerate? Jihai says she's out of MP, and asks what should she do as she can't handle them all at once. Meanwhile Kim shows up flashily with his powers, and asks them if they almost got hurt. He says that he wants to finish quickly and start working, and asks if they still wish to continue. Therefore, the 3-year showdown has come to an end, making Kim the winner as the guild members are doing manual labor for the dungeon. After a while, the dungeon has been made and its entry fee is 10 gold. Kim then says that he is touched as they finally completed it, to which Lucia says she will praise him. This is definitely his achievement. Suddenly, Jihai calls Kim and asks how can he exploit her like this, no matter how she lost the showdown, and proposes to have another showdown. However, the guild member tells her to stop now. The red-haired guy says that Kim erased all the wyverns without a trace, and it also looks like he wiped out Xuewu. Kim is definitely hiding his power, and they aren't a match for him. Also, they have been used enough, and if she want to do more, do it alone, as they are leaving now, but she still tries to persuade them. After that, Jihai frustratedly tells Kim that she will see him at school, to which Kim agrees, and requests her to promote this place for him, but Jihai says this is not what she meant, she will get her revenge. Suddenly, a masked girl shows up and says that will be difficult. This data is so unsettling that they have to take it back. She then clears all of their memories and wishes them to have a pleasant gaming life. She further says all of their memories from the last login have now been erased. She thanks them for playing, to which they wake up and get confused in real life. All of them instantly log out and the masked girl approaches Kim. She calls Kim by his in-game ID and asks what was he thinking when he did this, if he's planning to threaten the piece of game. She then mentions it seems like he summoned the Demon King and the dungeon from another dimension. But Kim calls her a customer and says the dungeon isn't open yet, so he asks if he should make a reservation. Hearing which the girl tells him to answer properly and says the crime of causing chaos in this world is serious. She introduces herself as an agent of order, one of the management of this game. He asks if the administrator came even though the dungeon isn't open yet, and realizes that he hasn't started the business yet, so he wonders if she came here for taxes or to demand fees for acquiring rights. Meanwhile, Zero becomes cautious and the agent tells him to stay where he is. If he moves, his heart will be pierced and he will die, so he should quietly return to where he was. Hearing which, Kim curiously asks if she knows something about Zero returning, and come to think of it, while Zero still moves, and Lucia warns him about it. She then says that she can clearly see with her demonic eye that the agent's words aren't nonsense. Since his heart is being targeted, stay still as she said. After that, the agent gigglingly asks if she can see the Grim Reaper. If she's the Great Demon King Lucia, she can see it with her demonic eye. To which Lucia says being close to death are common in hell, but to have such a person is subordinate. She then tells the agent that she was a crybaby back then, but she's impressive now. To which she questions on the crybaby. Lucia explains that she used to cry for her favorite character and went rogue. Back then she was an unreasonable child, but she's grown up well, to which she asks what does she mean, and Kim states if she's really Sakai. But she replies that she has no relation with any user named Sakai, and she just told them that she's from the management. Kim then mentions that her mom participated when his dad made this game into a web novel. Since the closed beta, they have been testing everything, so she's definitely one of the management. But more than that, the emblem on her mask is a dead giveaway, which is her favorite character. He gifted her that pixel art emblem. Sukai then realizes that this emblem was a birthday gift from Kim. Therefore, Kim tells her to stop playing useless games and help him capture some mobs. Moreover, he will throw in discount coupons when the dungeon opens. But Sukai says she doesn't know what he's talking about. But as a manager who maintains order, she asked for his cooperation in eliminating all external elements from the game. Hearing which he replies that it's impossible. He has lost too much, he can't even complete daily quests because of the curse, and his rent and utility bills are piling up. He then menacingly says his life now has only one answer, a life of betting everything on one chance. Seeing which Lucia says, this greed, that's blackened for money, and asks if it's not an excellent story for a true Great Demon King's awakening. On the other hand, Sukai knows her skin was customized when she was full of anger, but she feels sad for her dad's work. She replies that her foresight shows a grim future, beings from outside the game will be eliminated. He states that he's warning her too, she will definitely lose to him, so if she thought his strength is within the game's scope, she's mistaken. She replies no matter how strong he is, it doesn't concern her, but he insists it does, to which she says he won't be able to touch her. After that, both of them argues for a while, as Kim says he knows what her ability is, that's why he's saying it. Even if she has that foresight ability, once he catches her, it's game over. And she says that she told him that's not possible. She has already said that she can control Zero. He replies that Zero doesn't need to step in, saying which he searches for something on the inventory. In response, Sukai asks why he's suddenly checking his inventory, or if he's looking at the items that will drop when he dies. If he's thinking of offering a tribute, he would better forget about it. After that, Kim brings out something and say, he forgot to give this on her birthday. Actually, this matches the face skin and shoulder mount as a set, and asks if she needs this complete fox emblem set. He then tells her it's a gift, come closer, and Sukai tells him to send it immediately, while he asks it's been a while since her birthday, to which she mentions that he said he forgot to give it when they were kids. Both of them are dead serious about this, and Lucia comments they are still playful. Kim then says, items over 3 years old disappear after dropping them, so if she don't want it, he will just throw it away. To which she replies, this cheap, while he states what if it's cheap, and asks if the future has changed. Sukai then says that the future never, while Kim drops the item. In response, Sukai jumps to catch it while saying that it will really disappear if he drops it like that. It's her one and only favorite character emblem and catches it. However, Kim displays a creepy face and says she finally came. He then instantly grabs her and asks, what's wrong? If she didn't see the future of her getting caught once he let go of the emblem, and states that after catching her, where did she think he will send her? After which, she panickingly asks where this is, it's scary, and what about the communication with other admins? And why isn't the logout key appearing? What this feeling of sucked into somewhere is. Suddenly, she notices it and yellingly asks if it's a black hole. After that, Sukai screams from fear, and the system tells Kim that he has acquired a new title. The one who made the admin kneel. He then holds Sukai and says that her imagination is way too much. That's why she gets overly emotional with her favorite character. Therefore, he tells her to leave them alone for now, to which Sukai hesitantly asks leave alone. He explains the game is so vast that anything can happen, and asks if their situation ain't one of those things. He then says that he is thinking of summoning another hero into the game. The next target is Blood Demon Supreme from the Martial Arts Chronicles. Hearing which Sukai asks if he wants to bring the martial arts munchkin from Kim Meta's work, known as the Blood Demon cult leader, the Blood Demon, into this game. Kim replies that she seems interested, and she asks if he can summon anyone regardless of the genre. To which Kim agrees and says Lucia and Zero are from different genre too, but thinks that they seems to have some loose screws. He then mentions that they haven't caused any serious problems here yet, to which she gets confused and says it sounds like she can summon her favorite character too, but in the story they took a death route though. Kim replies it would be possible if the timing is right before they die, to which Sukai happily realizes and says it should be possible like that, and she understands it now. He then says that she always had a hard time understanding words since childhood, although it's only when necessary. After which Kim asks if she wants to join, and Sukai quickly agrees to it. Somewhere in a shady-looking mansion, a guy asks if there's no problem. To which another guy says that the entire bipedal snowfield has disappeared, and the employee from the information company investigating went missing. On top of that, Jason, who is a top ranker, wouldn't know that his character was deleted. A man named Balonso, ranker 6, says that the golden armor he made got lost in the process. Sakai replies that the news of the national treasure level legendary golden armor is unfortunate, but Jason dropped it during the character delete, so there's no issue in the system. However, Sakai knows Kim has it, and she mentioned that it's an expensive item, so any movement will be detected. The other rankers then says they should check the black market. Jason is good at things like that. But the ranker 9 Wild Kiwi says it's surprising that Jason got hit. And the middle guy comments, unless one is a key user, there's no way to lower Jason's defense. He says it's been 3 years since he last played the game, but even though it's a big incident, there's no source of the rumors. There was indeed a mob outbreak and asks Sakai if she's saying there's no problem. He's the ranker 2 Jane. He asks Sakai what she sees from the future, to which she replies that what she saw from the future is that the game and the world of its characters shouldn't become reality. Meanwhile, she thinks what Kim said to her, that this game is so vast anything can happen. The same goes for situation. It shouldn't be predictable, and that's what makes the game fun. She then further mentioned that the management and she supports changes, which makes the game more enjoyable. If they don't like the game board, they can reset it, and asks if they also didn't dominate this game in that way too. Therefore, she wishes them to have an enjoyable gaming life. After that, Jane does something that blooms a withered shite flower. He then says, it seems like the administrators are trying to overlook this matter, to which Kiwi says, treating them like variable doesn't sit well with him. If they don't like it, then they can just reset it, so he asks why don't they just go and beat them up. Balonso says he's thinking of sending a tracking team to follow the energy of the golden armor, hearing which Kiwi replies he will take the lead, and tells Balonso to put it on him. He then hyperactively states that he will personally verify what kind of person they are. Meanwhile, Jane thinks no matter how he thinks about it, it doesn't make sense that the server couldn't have predicted the movement. That would paralyze it. He wonders if it could be that the admins wants the board to change. He then burns the flower and feels suspicious of the situation. He thinks Sakai might be involved, so they need to determine if it's the will of all the admins or not. Meanwhile, Sakai goes to Kim's room and asks if he's ready, to which he replies that he's just about to start. He just found the limited edition book. Entering the study room, she says it's still the same here, to which he says that nothing has changed since his dad is not here. But as she notices a table, she asks if this is the study overflowing with the unreleased settings he mentioned, while Kim tells her to focus here. Afterwards, she asks if this is the book he mentioned yesterday, to which he agrees and say that this is the only fusion martial arts fantasy novel his dad wrote, called Blood Demon Hell Record, and he will summon the protagonist's master, Blood Demon. Moreover, he is known as the Red Demon, who once dominated the martial world. He raised an army of 10 million zombies and fought the 9 major sects alone, becoming the first Blood Demon. Therefore, to fill the dungeon, they need the power to create a zombie army, to which she asks if he can control that Blood Demon. She then mentions if they give the Blood Demon time like last time, the zombie army will proliferate rapidly, throwing the entire game into chaos. Kim replies that he doesn't have time to pay for his living expenses, overdue rent, and utility bills. His life is a crisis every moment, and he has calculated the timing to suppress the Blood Demon, so there's no time to hesitate, saying which he opened the lock and they get into the game. Afterwards, somewhere in the game, the Blood Demon asks if he survived. Due to the sneak attack by the United Martial Artists, he fell off a cliff. He thinks they are truly a bunch of ragtag troops. They couldn't finish off an old man who was caught off guard. He will tear the traitors apart immediately. Also, his internal injuries are so severe that his blood vessels have been utterly damaged. While lying down inside the ice, he calls this a disaster, while a boy calls him and asks if he's okay, and says he will fetch a doctor for him, so please stays there. Hearing which, the Blood Demon asks who he is, and the boy replies he is the servant from the nearby inn, and asks if he's awake. But the Blood Demon thinks that he just thought of the only way to heal these internal injuries, and he puts his hand forward to grab the boy, to which he confusedly calls him sir. The Blood Demon attacks the boy, and while apologizing to him, he mentions that in order to be reborn, he needs a new vessel to transfer into, and so he borrows the boy's body for a moment. After that, he opens his eyes and wonders if he succeeded in rebirth. Sakai then says he's really been summoned, to which Kim states that Volume 1 mainly involves the Blood Demon borrowing the servant boy's body to undergo rebirth. He then asks if this is actually the Blood Demon, to which he asks how Kim knows his name, if they are the assassins sent from the martial world, and Sakai calls him pathetic. However, Kim tells her to watch her mouth. The real Blood Demon is still inside him. After that, the blood demon asks if they think he didn't hear them talking smack while he was distracted. He then says he will turn them into corpses immediately and points at them. However, nothing happens and Sukai asks what they should do. She then plays with the blood demon while calling him cute, and mentioned that seeing the servant boy from the blood demon hell record move in real life. The blood demon realizes this is bad. He forgot he borrowed the servant boy's body temporarily, while Kim tells him to not act rashly and control his dancing first. If he uses martial arts carelessly in that body, his blood vessels will twist. Hearing which he replies, how dare he lecture him, while Sukai pats him and calls him cute. However, the blood demon realizes that Kim is right. The servant boy has a faint inner power. He wonders if he forgot the basics of controlling inner power and focuses on himself. He focuses his inner power on his first. He then tried to slash Sukai while saying that he will take care of her as she mocked him first. But she dodged it and asks if he just hit her with those tiny hands and tells him to do it again. Seeing which the blood demon confusedly asks if she dodged his preemptive strike. He finds this ridiculous and attacks her repeatedly. While dodging all the attacks, Sukai calls him adorably stubborn. The blood demon then wonders if Sukai read his moves consecutively and if there has been someone superior to him in reading moves. Meanwhile, Kim asks if the inner power management succeeded, to which he throws a seed to him and says, take this. From the throw, it creates a huge shockwave that covers the entire forest. The seed then floats in front of the blood demon, and he wonders what it is, as it looked like it was thrown lightly, but was difficult to catch if there are still masters hidden in the martial world that he doesn't know of. After that, Kim comments well done and tells him to try infusing inner power into the next seed. He thinks it's getting dangerous to keep watching the blood demon, because he's already adapting to the servant boy's body. From now on it's a swift and decisive battle. In reply, the blood demon asks why would he follow his orders, to which Kim says if he say jump, he will jump. Kim then tells him to do it again, and the blood demon realizes Kim insulted him. Kim then asks who he thinks saved his body in the midst of rebirth, and if it isn't the way of the martial world, to cherish the body he borrowed for a while. To this, the blood demon asks what he is, and Sukai asks what does he mean, and if he is going to whine to them again, and calls him lackey. The demon is startled by this, as there are only 2 people in the whole world who call him a lackey. If it's them, they would indeed read his moves, and throwing that small seed would naturally be powerful. He thought he fought the martial world alone, but they were watching. He then cryingly apologizes for greeting them so late, and says this useless lackey has caused them to worry once again. He prostrates in front of them saying, this foolish disciple greets his masters, and also thinks disaster, it doesn't always bring bad results. After that, Sukai and Kim look at each other, realizing that everything is going according to plan. Kim then asks him why he is whining, and if he isn't going to focus on the seed, to which he respects the order instantly, and then focuses on the seed and snaps it. Sukai asks if the seed was destroyed, and Kim mentions that's the power of the blood demon. Suddenly she gets anxious, and Kim asks if she saw the future, to which she replies that the blood demon's martial arts start from death. Some creepy monstrous looking creatures then rises from the dead. Kim realizes that it's done. That form shows the mobs turned to dust can be revived as undead. So from now on, this will be the business capital, and he will completely sweep up the dungeon's minions. He mentions that this is the 3rd form of blood martial art, which is the marvel of making even lifeless seeds sprout and become servants. Blood demon Jiangshi necromancy, the terrifying technique that allowed the blood demon to face off against 1,000,000 martial artists alone. He then says that as an original fan, it's exciting to directly witness a legendary being, but casually using such a technique is extremely dangerous. He explains that the responsibility to control and manage that danger is heavier than people thinks, and asks what she thinks, to which Sukai asks back if she isn't the one supposed to be telling him that, but Kim replies that it's useless as he said it first, and Sukai calls it childish. After that, they start arguing about it, as it doesn't matter if they have a common goal, while the blood demon calls them. He says that their loving couple's quarrel is still the same as ever, to which they ask back how is this a loving couple's quarrel. Afterwards in the goblin forest, some creatures attack Kim, but he thinks it's too weak as there's no damage at all. Jiangshi necromancy has nothing to do with the sorcerer's spiritual power. It's all about how strong the body was before becoming a Jiangshi. Meanwhile, the blood demon calls his creatures scoundrel for attacking Kim, to which Kim says it doesn't matter. He just summoned them as a means of transportation anyway. He then says to Blood Demon that he will tell him why he brought him to this forest, and orders to move on now. So they ride the creatures to move, but they are very slow, which annoys Kim. But as he notices something, he realizes that they had entered the goblin's territory. He then asks the blood demon if he senses any presence. He agrees and says that he can sense 2 presences, but judging by the lack of aura, they seem to be riffraff or children. To which Kim says he guessed it right, but they're not human. The blood demon asks if they are ghoul, while the red ear goblins growl. Kim then explains that they are creatures of this world called goblins, to which he says that they have devilish face, but are quite tiny. Kim asks if he's for real, as he is much smaller than them, to which the blood demon says his joke is going too far, and asks if he has forgotten that he is temporarily borrowing the body of a servant boy. Kim thinks that's precisely why they're more likely to follow him. He then orders him to try making those goblins his underlings. Hearing which the demon replies, they're not the kind he wants as underlings, but Kim tells him to not get intimidated by their size, as they all look about the same anyway. To which he tells Kim that he keeps on joking, and asks how him, one of the greatest in the martial world, be intimidated by such creatures, and Kim replies they follow those stronger than them. He further states that Jiangshi necromancy is the ultimate technique for controlling corpses, and asks if he has ever controlled a living being before. After hearing it, the blood demon shockingly realizes that Kim's insight is deeper than heavens. He knows the servant boy's body is now like an empty wine cup, so he wonders if Kim intends to train him into a more complete blood demon by controlling living creatures instead of corpses, and if Kim was already looking into all the darkness that was lurking inside him. He then says he realizes his master true intentions, but Kim carries him and throws him towards the goblin, while saying that there's no time to waste. After that, as he goes near the goblin and states, Kim's teaching methods are still as rough as ever. Anyway, how should he turn these devilish creatures into servants without killing them? He thinks, while Kim's intentions are profound and have already transcended the mortal world, he already knows too well how to make them submit, and while focusing his energy menacingly, he thinks it's fear. He then narrates that even when his Jiangshi army numbered less than 100, right after mastering the Jiangshi technique, a terrified soldier spread the outrageous rumor that the blood demon commanded an army of 100,000 Jiangshi. Therefore, fear gives birth to fear, and the essence give birth to transformation, so fear will eventually lead to worship. He then thinks they will burst into tears before him and worship him. However, the goblin hands him a stick and try to explain him to use this, seeing which he asks why they are giving him a weapon, as he is not one of their kind. Meanwhile, Kim laughs, to which he frustratedly looks at him. Kim then gesturingly tells him to carry on. Suddenly, a dark ogre shows up that scares the goblin. The ogre then confusedly looks at them, seeing which the blood demon asks what this unusually large devil is, as it's emanating killing intent. The ogre then attacks them, but the goblins block it, and one of them tells the blood demon to go away. The demon leaves a deep breath as he feels warmth towards the goblins. He says only if the foolish lot of the martial world had learned a thing or two from this, then a monster like him who plunges the world into chaos might not have been born. While he blocks the ogre's weapon and breaks it with a single punch. After that, he jumps on the ogre's head to apply his palm whip first form move. He then takes control of the ogre's blood with blood control palm grip, which hurts the ogre. Instantly, the blood vessels burst like a balloon. He then asks the goblins, how dare they mistake an august being as one of them? They really lack discernment. He calls them useless and tells them to scram before he slaughters them. However, the goblins are confused and takes the blood demon on their shoulders to celebrate. Seeing which Kim laugh again, to which he looks at him, and Kim waves his hand in gesture to apologize. He then gesturally states that he managed to make them allies, but the mission is not over yet. To which the demon realizes there are more orders. Suddenly he hears a sound of horn, and says judging by the trembling ground, something might be coming, but he wonders why the goblins are trembling. He then shouts where are they heading, and tells them to put him down. After that, Kim says it barely went according to plan, because if he hadn't been able to laugh it off, it might have failed. Moreover, he explains, in the goblin forest there's a major battle between ogres and goblin once every full moon. Normally, they would just do a daily quest to loot empty camps. But this time, the target is to where the blood demon is heading now, right into the heart of the battlefield between goblins and ogres. This time, they will teleport using the warp point planted on the blood demon's collar, and turn both ogres and goblins to dust in one go. At that moment, the blood demon will turn the dust of the mob's corpses into Jiangshi, and they will place those captured mobs in the dungeon, thinking of that as a perfect strategy. But suddenly, something shines at a distance in the forest, and as Kim notices it, he realizes that's the effect of the blood martial art. Therefore, he will teleport directly to the warp point now. After that, as he teleports there and thinks that this is the core area of the war between goblins and ogres, and it's supposed to be where the mobs are most concentrated, he calls this good and says they just need to leave the corpses to the blood demon. However, Kim noticed that the goblins are praising the blood demon while he is on top of the ogre corpses. He then calls him and wonders how he subdue all the ogres so quickly, as his internal energy control should still be immature. What kind of ridiculous growth rate that is. Meanwhile, the blood demon gets down and asks if he came, to which Kim says yes. Suddenly, the goblin lord calls them, which grabs their attention. He then puts a crown on the blood demon's head while the goblins are celebrating their victory. The blood demon confusedly asks what this is and why are they giving him crown. After that, a goblin swings his weapon, and the blood demon teaches him the right way to do it. Seeing which, Kim wonders if it's that time, because in the original work, the blood demon takes on his first disciple when borrowing the servant boy's body. So it seems that direction has turned towards the goblin now, and thinks that then this flow isn't bad. However, unlike Zero, the blood demon doesn't have a particularly strong sense of loyalty. Therefore, it's better to have something to immerse himself in. He remembers that for Jiangxi, what matters is how strong the body was before death. If they make them into Jiangxi after bringing out their ultimate strength, then the goblins will become extremely strong before turning into Jiangxi, and this might be an even better strategy. He then tells the blood demon that he has carried out the orders splendidly. Therefore, from now on, he will have to stay as the king of goblins. Kim narrates that when the blood demon possessed the body of the errand boy, he discovered a child with an innate talent for martial arts. By taking advantage of the unrequited love, he persistently trains the disciple, because the desire for improvement in the disciple, due to that desire the original work is manifesting. Kim thinks the goblin army is becoming unreasonably strong, while the blood demon is guiding the goblins. Meanwhile, somewhere in another world, Wild Kiwi asks a group if they are Balonso's tracking team, and if they heard she's joining, and mentions that she will be their reliable backup. But Gi-wook, a former 9th ranker, replies what Balonso is thinking for making them travel with a scatterbrain like Kiwi. Hearing which, Kiwi states if it ain't the former ranker who got pushed out, to which he tells him to get lost, as she is just hindering the tracking. However, Kiwi menacingly tells him to show some respect, and asks if he forgot who pushed him out. But Gi-wook replies that he doesn't want to respect someone who became a ranker just by luck. To which Kiwi shows her inner left eye, and tells him that she will let him experience the feeling of being pushed out by luck once again. The thing inside Kiwi's eye comments Seal Strike, which locks Gi-wook ability. Kiwi then says she has put a stop on him to not let him use his petty tricks, and asks if she shall give him another lesson. In response, Gi-wook states logs out cancel, and he teleports from there. Meanwhile, Kiwi hits the ground with her hammer, and sees that no one is around. Then the thing inside Kiwi's eyes says she crushed him without even setting showdown rules. Kiwi replies it doesn't matter, as Gi-wook committed a lot of player kills. Suddenly, Gi-wook sits over her shoulder while holding his knives, and asks what she is muttering to herself, if she thinks she won just like that. Gi-wook then threatens Kiwi's eye, and says once he figures out these key users, they are easy to deal with. He asks if he should rip it apart, to which Kiwi tells him to try and reveals another creature, and mentions that there are plenty of bugs here and there. The blue creature then comments crack strike, and a lighting suddenly hits them. But Gi-wook instantly dodges it and Kiwi calls him a loach. She then tauntfully asks if it's to cancel something he was doing anyway, if the former rankers were so proud of such trivial bugs. Hearing which, Gi-wook replies that it's called cancel control, which anyone can use, so he at least used the system. Suddenly, his underlings calls him and states that Balonso says if the siblings are still playing around, they should depart first, while other mentions that take your time coming, to which they angrily yells that playing around, and asks if they can't see how serious this is. He then tells Kiwi he will kick her immediately if he gets in the way, to which she asks if he will just keep talking back to his sister. Gi-wook asks what sister, they're fraternal twins, and Kiwi tells him to say that to their mother and get beaten for insubordination. On the other hand, Kim and the blood demon teleports near the dungeon. Seeing which, the blood demon asks about the place, to which Kim replies that this is the symbol of adventure overflowing with dreams and hope named Dungeonpia. The blood demon replies it's an unfamiliar word and calls this an unimpressive place, but Kim tells him to shut up. Zero then gets happy seeing Kim first, but becomes angry seeing him patting the blood demon. While Kim says to Blood Demon that he is late in praising him, as he has managed to keep a living being as his subordinate. The demon replies it's all thanks to his boundless teachings, and Kim wonders how he should bring it up. Things have grown bigger than intended, as he only told him to subdue a scout, but he ended up becoming the Goblin King. He then narrates, the original goal was the war concentration area, and it was to find the focal point of the Goblin versus Ogre war. Then they would turn the Goblin and Ogres into dust in one go. The Blood Demon planned to fill the dungeon with Jiangshi he created. After that, the Blood Demon says he is worried that while he wasn't looking, his disciples might be slacking off, to which Kim thinks the problem is that he has developed an attachment to the goblins that were supposed to become Jiangshi. Kim believes it's good that the goblins are getting stronger and suddenly notices Zero. He comments it's Zero, and the Blood Demon asks what's with him. He calls Zero a puppy not knowing to fear a tiger and asks who he thinks he is directing killing intent at. However, Kim holds him up, to which he objects to the act, and Kim asks if he wasn't trying to greet. Zero then gains another star, and as Kim realizes it, he throws away the Blood Demon. After that, Zero and the Blood Demon are fighting mid-air, while Kim thinks where did Zero go. Meanwhile, the Blood Demon thinks it's mysterious, as Zero changes direction freely mid-air. Zero's wires are like celestial silkworm thread, but it's actually intangible hard kai, and believes it's a technique that can be easily dispelled. However, mixing direct attacks with the recoil makes it quite weighty, which is truly troublesome. This technique is novel and well-structured, becoming more precise and faster as it goes on. If mixing it with irregular techniques, it could become an extremely tricky martial art. He then realizes that his frail body is at its limit and says any more would be too much. He then hits Zero with a powerful spell, to which he lands on the ground. As they both are about to start fight again, Lucia interrupts them by picking up the Blood Demon and mentions a cute one has arrived, to which he asks if this place is full of rude people. Kim then states that the Blood Demon is still on par with 2-star Zero and holds Zero, which makes him shy. Kim then compliments Zero that he has become able to gather stars well on his own now, so if they fight anymore, it will just waste energy, and tells him to calm down. He then pats Zero's head, which makes him happy, to which Kim realizes that Zero has calmed down a bit. He then tells Lucia to come to him and check what he asked, since she has greeted too, to which the Blood Demon asks if they are Kim's acquaintances. If so, he will overlook Lucia's rudeness for once, but Lucia puts her finger inside his mouth, to which the Blood Demon rolls on the ground and says that he has been foolishly poisoned, and Kim asks Lucia how the taste was, while she tells him to ask him directly as she fed him. But seeing him, Kim thinks that the Blood Demon forgets that he asked him to taste test. After that, Kim asks him how the taste is, to which he comments taste, and says there's sweet flavor and texture. The blood in his salivary glands is opening up, and his heartbeat is quickening. Therefore he asks if it would be alright to taste a few more. He then anxiously asks if this craving is some kind of love potion made by the evil sect, to which Kim replies potion is a good naming. He checks his inventory and says he would like him to keep tasting, but it's a paid item. Moreover, the internal energy and wounds he lost in the recent battle should have been partially healed, to which the Blood Demon checks his body and replies that his Kai has returned to normal, but the addictive craving persists. Kim replies if he's so curious he will tell him. He explains that it's an essential item for dungeon exploration, the energy cookie called Boom Boom Potion. It will be a recovery item loved by everyone in the future, to which the Blood Demon says that can't be allowed, as he will consume them all here. Somehow, the errand boy became addicted to this taste despite the Blood Demon's will. However, Kim is happy about their explosive reaction. He thinks if it's to this extent, business might go well, so maybe he can lure some goblin supplies with cookies. After that, in the real world, the landlady asks Kim where he's running off to, as he needs to pay rent, to which he says he is really coming in soon, so just wait a moment. Kim then narrates if the secret path he has been using has been found out, he will have no way out. Therefore, he will pay off the living expenses in one go with the dungeon business and buy the whole building outright. Meanwhile in the game, seeing his evilly laughing face, Lucia states that there is that stupid face, a strong candidate to marry her. Suddenly Sukai appears and tells Kim it's just a jerky potion with a skin change. She also asks who would buy it. Merchants will sell potions that cost 100 gold, even cheaper with their skills, to which Kim replies that they have also released this edition designed for special customers. Seeing which Sukai realizes it's her favorite merchandise and desperately wants it. After that, inside the dungeon, everyone is working. Kim mentions that let's start with the dungeon map and the monster balls they've collected so far, and he also got the manual scanned from his dad's study. He then says since the dungeon is practically dead right now, they firstly need to place monsters to guard each area, before breathing life into them. He then clicks a ball to place them in order of weakest first, starting with the first stage of 1-to-1. Therefore, he places the first guardian, keeping it simple as it's the seedling of Jayat. Suddenly, he hears some weird noises and asks if it's summoned over here. If so, then this is the 1-to-1 stage. Kim notices the background has changed around and asks if it implements the habitat of the placed mobs. He then calls it a game with excellent implementation and is about to set the 1-from-2 stage. He explains it's the Silver Ogres, massacred by the Blood Demon in the Goblin vs. Ogre War, but wonders if wouldn't it cause an imbalance to have ogres right after the seed, because normally something like goblins of lower rank would be suitable, and the problem is the Blood Demon. Kim then calls him a problem because each goblin has gotten so freaking strong that he can't place them carelessly. After that, he mentions that the next stage will be wyverns, then the stage right before the boss are the goblins. He then asks if the goblins wouldn't catch the rankers at the end if it's like this. Kim is done setting 4 stages and will set the final boss stage now. He says the current final boss in this dungeon is definitely the strongest one somewhere in the world. Sukai says the information agency they commissioned, called Griffon Eyes, is still missing, and the bipedal snowfield has been restored to its original state. Moreover, the bug that affected 3 years of game time has also been fixed, and compensation has been provided to the affected users. Additionally, they visited the Ranker Guild, to which someone asks if this is supposed to be a report. Game Master's gifter, Honolal, says it feels like they're just stating the results without analyzing the cause, to which Sukai replies, since the key users appeared, analyzing the cause has become meaningless. To this, Honolal menacingly asks meaningless, and a lady calls her and says it's an infringement of rights to dispute the prophet's words. Hearing which, Honolal asks if she ain't being too lenient because Sukai is her daughter. Game Master's editor, Moonyak, replies she will mosaic that mouth, to which she swing his fingers and Honolal's mouth gets shut. She then suggests that for now, let's create some tension among the key users, as they're hoping for the emergence of such game changers anyway. Moreover, the Game Masters must fully support the prophet's words, because the heavy responsibility for those words lies with the person who made them. She then asks Sukai if it's not what the operations team's statements should be, which makes Sukai realize her mom is pissed off. She thinks looking back, it was a mistake to be used by the merchandise, and also if it was right to trust Kim from the start, because the future is unclear. She believes that he knows her weak points too well, and a man confusedly stares at her. Meanwhile, Yak calls her and asks for an answer, to which Sukai scaredly says of course. She hopes Kim better do well, while someone rings Kim's doorbell. In response, Kim opens the door and asks the matter, to which the landlady asks why does he open so late. She then mentions that she needs someone to vent her anger on right now, and Kim asks why him. The lady replies because his rent is overdue. She asks when he's going to pay for it, to which he gets speechless. He then asks if it's really that important, which confuses her. He tells her to forget about the rent, and set up a meeting with a real estate agent to discuss purchasing the building from tomorrow. The lady shockingly asks what, to which he states, and then she shouldn't be in the building. He has so much money. He might end up buying the landlord too. Hearing which, the landlady asks what he's talking about, while he shuts the door and gets inside his apartment, but she still confusedly stands in the dark lobby. After that, he enters the game and thinks that there's literally no reason to hide his ambitions anymore. He then opens the item shop. He realizes preparing the display was more costly than expected, but it will make a huge profit later. He comments that now it's time to escape poverty and enjoy a premium life to the fullest, to which Lucia says his rotten ambition blinded by wealth makes him a member of the Demon King's army. He then states that how about they set the dungeon on fire, and presses the dungeon core. He narrates that the dungeon core's activation was the beginning of everything. The dungeons in the game gets activated, while the ranker spies sees from a distance. He believes it responded to the descent and momentarily shimmered together as a response to the descent. The dungeon entrance is now making the dungeon officially usable. After that, Kim puts on a mustache and laughs like an old man. He says from today, they will be busy and won't have time to deal with anyone, so he tells everyone to rest in the staff room, to which Lucia tells him to call it the Demon King's castle properly, not just the staff room. And he replies, off to the Demon King's castle then. Saying which he pressed a button, to which Lucia and Zero falls down somewhere. In response, Lucia angrily asks how dare he abandon her, and what's up with the state of the Demon King's castle. Kim mentions that right now, it's just the size of a single room like a staff room. But as the dungeon grows, there will come a day when it's truly called the Demon King's Castle, and tells her to be patient. He says the one who grabbed the real key to luck could be them, because they had boarded the same ship as this born merchant. After that in daytime, Kim welcomes no one and says this dungeon pia, filled with hopes and dreams. While the first day has passed and not a single soul came here. Kim says there's 0 customers, and thinks this isn't right, there's no foot traffic at all. And thinks if it's because wyverns are extinct and quests don't appear anymore. He states that he even boasted to the landlady and wonders if he's screwed up. Suddenly, a wild kiwi lands from somewhere which grabs his attention. Kiwi then reads that the dawn of light meant the descent of the dungeon, and shockingly realizes there's a dungeon here. Kim happily looks at her and asks if she's a customer. He then greets her and says this is Dungeonopia, the symbol of hope and adventure, and mentions that she can use the shop before entering the dungeon, and asks if she needs help. Hearing which, Kiwi asks if he's a peddler, and says she just came to watch, so there's nothing special on her side. Suddenly, the spies with weapons surrounded Kim and threaten him. Wook says it's better if he doesn't move. They are an assassin group where player kill is allowed. He then angrily tells Kiwi that he's supposed to observe, not charge in, while Kim is excited because of so many customers. Kiwi asks how long is he going to keep watching. He had been swatting flies all day, but Wook replies that's their job. Kiwi calls it a hassle, while Kim pokes Wook's knife, and from that impact, all of the assassins' weapons get damaged and their broken pieces flies into the space. This scares them and they instantly gets behind Kiwi, while Kim says that their item is damaged, but don't worry as this shop exists to replace such things. To which one of the assassin calls him a lunatic boy and asks who buys a bow picked up from ground, and mention that rusty dagger is a free item, so there's no reason to pay gold for it. However, Kim denies it and says they will buy it, no matter how many items they have. Eventually they'll have to buy it, because a born merchant like him will break each one of them. Hearing which, Kiwi gigglingly says that she got it, and then announce that the root of all problems was him. From a distance, a sniper aims at Kim and mentions that it's her first ability called Sure Hit, shooting which she states that even if one evades, the target will still be their heart. But Kim noticed it and says arrows are consumables, which is really worrying. Meanwhile, Wook asks him if he's worried about player killed. They are Balonso Hands, an assassination organization, where player kill is allowed, and tells Kim that he is not in a position to worry. Kim denies it and pokes Wook's blade while saying he was worried about these, that the blades he will be selling them has not much left in stock, as their weapons get destroyed again. Wook asks if it's weapon destruction, and the sniper calls it nonsense, because her skill Sure Hit missed. Moreover, Kiwi asks Kim if he's the one who took the golden armor after having Jason's character deleted. But Kim comments golden armor and says that's a dungeon boss clear reward, and asks if she wants to try it. Hearing which, they all attack at him together and tells him to stop fooling around and hand over the golden armor. Meanwhile, Zero feels that Kim is in danger, but Lucia tells him to leave it to Kim this time. He is an agent representing the Demon King's army. Meanwhile, at another world game operation planning department which is in-game, Sukai thinks that she honestly didn't expect something like this. The first guests in the dungeon are Ranker and Balonso's Hands, so if golden armor comes out as a reward, there will be inquiries. Suddenly, her mother Yak appears and asks if the fox emblem on her shoulder is her favorite character. To which she is about to say something, but Yak suggests switching to whisper mode as there are ears listening. Yak then says there are a lot of masterpieces in Androkimda's works, and that's why he probably died from overwork. She was the editor in charge at that time, and she can't express how regretful she is. She then asks how his son Kim Woojoo is doing, to which Sukai says he's doing well. She see him at school sometimes, and it seems he's consistently logging in the game as well. Yak then says Ranker number 2, Jane, personally inquired and asks if there's a reason why the management is ignoring this anomaly. Hearing which, she calls her editor, and Yak tells her that she must have seen something in the future, but Jane is a dangerous player, and they might be hoping for this kind of rift. Moreover, they can't say that Jane has no desire to take control over another world. She then tells Sukai to not show any signs of weakness, as it could become the rift they're hoping for. After hearing it, Sukai is tensed, hoping for Kim to do his best. She believes the top ranker Wild Kiwi is dangerous, but there are scarier guys in Balonso Hands' assassination squad. Meanwhile, in Wyvern Gorge, an old man tells them to wait and states it might be a meaningless fight. He says each dungeon has its own color and scent, and the aura of this dungeon matches Kim's aura, as each has its unique color which makes it even more true. Then Kim might be a fixture of this dungeon, an AI human whose attacks are meaningless, while Kiwi asks if that was it, and the sniper says she understands why her sure hit skill didn't work. But Gi-wook surprisingly asks if an high-grade named item was actually destroyed, while Kim is calling them customers and asks if they need items as he has it right here. Moreover, they also sell booster cookies and boom boom potions, so please buy quickly. Hearing which the sniper replies that Kim is really an AI, but Gi-wook denies it. Kiwi then asks if the golden armor is in the dungeon, as the AI said. The old man replies it doesn't seem like a lie, because the aura of the golden armor is blatantly leaking from the entrance. To this, Kiwi says she expects a bit from a new dungeon with a paid usage fee, and the old man states that the new dungeon isn't complicated, so clearing is quick. Therefore, Gi-wook tells them to go ahead, as this is too suspicious, so he will take care of Kim and then follow, while Kim tells them to wait and buy items before enter. To which Kiwi says she said it's an AI and tells him to buzz off, but Gi-wook tells Kiwi to buzz off. After that, Kiwi pays the entrance fee and tells them to hurry and take the glory for themselves. After getting paid, Kim happily says first profit and comments money. He then weirdly mentions that this is the taste of money. It's so sweet, he can't control his expression. Seeing which Gi-wook tensely asks what this is, as just seeing Kim's back makes him feel bad. He feels like Kim is absolutely suspicious. On the other hand, Lucia feels excited seeing Kim's ugly face. Suddenly, her stomach growls from excitement and Zero notifies it, while she says that she knows she has to endure. She then says as the dungeon grows, Kim will climb closer to the position of the Lord of Hell, who will be her companion. Therefore, she must endure it and it feels terrible. Meanwhile, the assassination group are now outside first stage door. And Kiwi says it's a door and asks if the boss stage is right away, to which the sniper says it's suspicious that there haven't been any common mobs on the way. The old man then says the direction is correct. The aura of the golden armor is beyond that door, to which Kiwi asks really. She then kicks open the door and comments to go straight to it. However, they see wilderness and Kiwi asks if it's an exit all of a sudden, and what kind of structure does this door have in the void. The sniper then mentions that the exterior looks similar to Goblin Forest, and the old man says it does. After that, the sniper asks if the background is an illusion, and then states until just now, they were in the middle of a dungeon, to which she shoots 2 arrows which hits the game's surface. Therefore, the old man says it's an augmented reality, but looking at the implementation rate, it's a dungeon with enormous magic power. Suddenly, some creature shows up and screeches at them, and the sniper then inspects it, but the attributes are hidden. To which she says she can't believe it's an unknown species, because the combat power, level, and characteristics are all unmeasurable, making it an undiscovered monster. Moreover, judging by its cool hair design and wild nature, it's impossible to predict its strength right now. She then anxiously says the number suddenly increased as well, and tells them to prioritize forming a formation first. However, Kiwi unbotheredly asks about the direction of the golden armor, to which the old man says it's still ahead. Kiwi then mentions that she plans to find the golden armor without delay, and asks if she can leave the small fries to them. But the sniper says calling them small fry with their abilities are unknown. Approaching without fear is also a predator's habit. To which Kiwi tells her to buy some time then, and orders them to take them down together when Gi-wook comes. Hearing which she thinks just the 2 of them and tells Kiwi to leave it to them and calls her a brother, to which Kiwi asks how it's brothers between girls. Meanwhile, noticing the sniper, the another man says, with a rapid heartbeat and flushed face, it looks like she needs help, and the old man tells him to leave it be, as youth is like this. Kiwi then announces that she's going ahead, and the sniper murmurs this is a truly high risk, high return. She then tells the creatures that she likes their hair design, but she has to finish it before her boss comes, so they can have some alone time. To which they gets confused, and she then menacingly says she will take them all on. Meanwhile, on the outside, Kim says that he can hear the fighting sounds. He then says if he hears screams, all the customers will leave, so he needs to pay more attention to soundproofing. After that, Gi-wook with a purse in hand says it looks like he need money, and states that he will buy everything on this table, and proposes for a showdown with him. He wagers that the condition is character deletion, and Kim confusedly stares and then asks if he knows that all the merchants in the world risks their lives to do business. He then took the money and realizes all the items are now sold out, while Gi-wook tells him to come at him. Meanwhile in the dungeon, the sniper says she assumed that they were unknown enemies and stayed on alert, but their attack power is literally 0. These guys are so weak that they would die with a single touch, and there's no experience points and dropped items. At this rate, it's embarrassing for her to even join the group. Therefore, she believes there's no choice now, as it's only left to soothe their weary souls by spending cozy time together. She blushingly wishes for Gi-wook to come quickly. On the other hand, Gi-wook proposes doing a final check before showdown. He says a dungeon has appeared in the Wyvern Gorge, and asks if the appearance of the dungeon in Wyvern Gorge and the disappearance of the ranker Jason related to him. To which Kim asks, more importantly, if this gold is really flawless. Meanwhile, Gi-wook states that defeating a ranker is almost like turning a former ranker into an enemy, and asks if he can know what his real intention is. Hearing which Kim replies, even just thinking about his real intention makes him really angry, and then asks if he doesn't think talking is unnecessary during a showdown. But he angrily shouts that this conversation is important. He then desperately asks if he is planning to become a new power, or if all of this is to overthrow the current disgusting ranker system. To this, Kim tells him to shut up and orders Zero to kill him. But Gi-wook says he suppose he wouldn't reveal the plot so easily, therefore he will see for himself what kind of ability he used to take down the ranker. After that, Kim simply forwards his hand, which confuses Gi-wook. But as nothing happens, to which Kim asks what this is, or if he didn't hear him. He asks Zero what he is doing, and tells him to go ahead. To which Gi-wook angrily asks if he's joking around at a time like this, and states that this is the first time he has experienced such humiliation. However, if he is relaxed about it, it's fine. He will make sure he gets serious, as he's going all out from the start, and tells Kim to be prepared. Kim replies, how about they try to resolve this slowly through conversation? But Gi-wook tells him to shut up. Kim again calls Zero, but Zero is feeling frustrated not being able to step up, while Lucia says even watching is a form of trust, as this isn't a place for them to step in. It's an opportunity for Kim to realize his own strength, since he's one of the candidates for her groom. It's even more important to do so. However, she tells Zero that seeing that he's restless, it seems his relationship also needs to take another step forward. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Kiwi kills the zombie wyverns, and her weapon is drenched in blood, while the old man says he is a bit late. She then asks if he has dealt with all the ogre zombies, to which he replies with yes and says it took some time because of his inadequate skills. The ogre's abilities were the same as those of the ones inhabiting the goblin forest, to which Kiwi mentions that she also knew that wyverns would change their stats when they're zombified. The level changes, and Kiwi says it's back to normal now, and the old man states it seems the background returns to its original state when cleared. Ironically, this principle is dangerous because of this implementation rate. If the demons appear, then hell will manifest. The power of the dungeon core needed to achieve that is immense. Moreover, a strong energy is flowing out from beyond that door. This dungeon has something that they can never be a match for. While Kim's comment a strong energy and asks if it could be golden armor, to which he replies it's a different kind of energy. Specifically, it's the presence of something coming from beyond the door. However, Kiwi opens the door asking who cares about that kind of stuff and says just smashing everything will be fine. After that, Kiwi sees someone which shocks her, and one of the assassins asks if it's a ghoul, but that appearance it looks like a red-eyed goblin. Kiwi then looks around and asks if there's only one goblin here, to which the old man says it's not rushing in recklessly, and asks if it's an evolved species. He says this is a good opportunity to gauge its level, and orders Silver Demon. Silver Demon then dashes at the red goblin with his lightning sword. However, the goblin simply moves his neck to dodge the attack, seeing which Silver Demon wonders if the energy of the strong wind twisted his attack, while the goblin comes in for attack, and Silver Demon calls it a simple one and mentions if he thinks it will work. But the goblin jumps on his hand, and the Silver Demon realizes the goblin can break his stance with its foot, seeing which Kiwi asks if they have power and intelligence too, to which the old man says it seems like someone taught them how to use their strength. But what he learned is the same, so they will see who the better monster tamer is. However, in the end, the species of both are Grey Ogre and Red Ear Goblin, so if it's a one-on-one, one can't ignore the advantage of their species. Kiwi replies that she's not interested, and asks about the golden armor, to which the old man replies it's right ahead and it seems to be a boss fight. Hearing which Kiwi comments boss fight, and excitedly asks if they should go right away then, to which the old man replies that from here on, there's a fork on the road. He senses something strange from this side door, so he asks how about they split up and tackle it. In reply, Kiwi asks if he's scared because it's a boss fight, and also if the leader is a coward, does this mean the subordinates are too? To this, the old man comments fear and states it's a word he had forgotten since leaving the martial world. It's just that he feels a strong pull beyond this door, which is simply a curiosity, while the red goblin calls them a fool, and says if they go through it, they will die. Hearing which, the old man asks if a goblin of all things has mastered language. He then attacks him and mentions that it seems he doesn't know his place. The goblin feels immense pressure, to which he asks what this feeling of being stuck to the ground. The old man then tells him to remember if he speaks without knowing his place, it could be his demise. He then calls Kiwi and asks if she will give him permission to proceed. Kiwi confusedly replies that it doesn't matter as she will take the golden armor herself, since the leader isn't here. She then says it might be because it's a boss stage, but this door is quite large. After that, she uses her strength to open the door, but it doesn't move an inch. To this, the red goblin asks what she's doing, as he is the gatekeeper of that room, and that door will only open if they defeat him first. She need to face him before anything else. But Kiwi opens the door a bit and tells him to shut up. It would be wise for him to be careful with his words, just like the old man said. And as she opens the door, she states that there's no door she can't open, to which Red Goblin asks if it's a lie. He realizes the old man left too, and says he warned him not to go that way as well. He thinks this is bad, as no one can stop the blood demon, and he will have to face special training from him again. But suddenly the silver demon attacks him and asks how dare he worry about someone else while ignoring his opponent. To which the red goblin asks why do all of them keep ignoring him? Even though he looks like this, he is the strongest goblin in the forest. And then silver demon replies by that logic, he is the strongest ogre in history. After that, the old man comes out of the mystery door and mentions that the smell of this forest, this isn't something created by the dungeon, it really feels like the goblin forest. He then sees the blood demon and asks if he's the guide of this dimensional portal. To which he asks where does another tiny creature came from. Hearing which the old man replies that he has never seen someone who is so obsessed with sizes possess a large vessel, though he honestly seems to possess the bigger one, to which the blood demon calls him a foolish guy and asks if he just judged him by his seated height. The old man then says it's best for him to not provoke his wrath too much. And the blood demon asks provoke and says his vessel is small. After that, the old man angrily says he has to teach him the manners of the martial world. But the blood demon asks if he's from the martial world and says he was just about to test something out, so if he's showing such hostility, he will gladly accommodate. With intense but trivial, overflowing yet boundless tactics, which is known as the 10 Demons Infinite Formation.